4,000 people, and I went to Le Mans, and my God, the whole world was there.
What about how you've turned this event around, Don, as well? I mean, talk about this battle here today between these two powerhouse teams.
Well, you've got Peugeot and Audi, and they went at it all last year. They went at it all year in Europe, and they're going at it here again today. And you know, it's hard to figure out who's actually going to win the race.
Right.
It really is, because you know, one jumps ahead and the other guy gets a bit between his teeth. I saw that pass that McNish made.
Right.
Pretty good, huh?
And, oh, fantastic. And you know, the fans out there must have really loved that. But it's hard to call it, because they're both very, very professional teams. They've spent a lot of money developing their cars. They've developed great technology. Audi's come with a new car this year. And, you know, that's kind of the one little amazing story, is they come with a new car, and it's the same competition we had all through the season last year.
Right.
Speaking of cars, and one that carries your name, the Panoz Esperante in GT2 is still running very, very well. It's currently third in class with Ian James behind the wheel. There could be another Panoz on the podium at Sebring.
Well, that would be great. You know, we take those podiums anytime we can get them.
Yeah.
And Tom Milner and his team is doing a great job. And I've noticed, I feel a little bit sorry that Dyson in his first Mazda's out there, the Mazda Lolas, that he's dropped out. But, you know, it's hard in the first race at Sebring to come out of the box and do well. I remember our first year here, we come out on the track the first time out, we set a track record. Then we got into the race, and at the third lap, we broke all of our electronics. So, you know, Sebring has its own way with you.
It's definitely a great test bed, and you've maintained your presence in GT2, Don, but there's been a lot of speculation here in the recent weeks about when you're going to get back in that prototype category. Is there any plans?
Well, I was asked that several times today. I facetiously could say I don't know why, but anyway, you know, I was explaining that when you've raced P1, you always think about it.
Right.
And Panoz, we have a little bit of a history. You know, we were the first with the front engine, and then we did the Sparky, the hybrid, and you know, the Esperante seems to be holding on. You got to remember, this Esperante is now going on 7 years old, so it's still competing very well. So we fantasize about getting back in, but for Panoz to do that with the mark that we have and the sound of our car and front engine, it has to be something that's a little bit different. So I won't deny that we haven't been fantasizing over the last few months about what could be different. We think that we've got a handle on something that if we can work it out, would be very good for us. It would be very good for the sport. It'd be good for Le Mans. And you know, I have to say, yeah, we are thinking about it. And yes, we have some ideas. And if we can figure out how to make those work and get them confirmed, we probably will.
That's fantastic news. I'm sure everyone out there listening is pretty chuffed to hear that.
Well, we would love to see the Panoz name back in LMP1. On thoughts about that and new cars into that category, your thoughts on the Acura?
Well, again, it's their first race for the season as an LMP1. They have done a tremendous job with that car. I think Sebring is probably out of the box as a tough test for them because of the long straights. They came up very innovatively with the front tires.
Yes,
that's great.
I got one for you, Don. How about front engine and put the rear tires on the front and the front tires on the back?
Hey, that might be something really great. Now, I hadn't fantasized about that one, but I'll certainly sleep on that one tonight. That's a good one, Calvin. Good one.
Well, here we have our man out in front, Tom Christensen. Don, he's the greatest at Le Mans. What would your feelings be if he is the greatest here at your racetrack at Sebring at the end of today?
I would say he deserves it.
Yeah.
He's always been a tough competitor, very consistent, and he knows how to collect the trophies.
Who has impressed you the most over the tenure of the American Le Mans Series, the 100 races? I mean, in terms of sports car drivers, and this man, 8 victories at Le Mans, 4 here at Sebring, but if you were to put your ultimate team together and you had 3 guys that you go out there from the current breed and put in a car, who would it be?
J.J. Leto, Alan McNish, and David Brabham.
There you go. It's a pretty good trio right there.
That would be a great team. That would be a great team. We've missed J.J. a lot.
Yes, yeah. He's the best driver in traffic I've ever seen. He just always seems to do it so smoothly.
You came up with that answer pretty quick, Don. Have the phone calls gone out or what?
No, I haven't made any phone calls, but you know, it's not hard if somebody says, "What's your wish list?"
Yeah,
because they're great drivers and really good. I mean, you could make 3 teams out of the drivers Ali's had and be at the top of the charts
for sure.
But and you know, look at some of these new guys. Sebastian Bourdais, you know, he won for us here in 2006, and what a great guy he is. And you know, there's so many great ones out there. But if I was looking for the team, I said those guys. I'd say that really for being cerebral and a great driver, you have to give it to David Brabham and Alan McNish too. Alan McNish gets the bit between his teeth better than anybody, and then JJ is probably the greatest traffic driver I've ever seen. So.
Well, listen, we know there are many demands on your time in Sebring week, so thank you very much for stopping by, and good to see you haven't lost your accent with all those months each year in Australia. Yeah, well, good day, Mike. And I'm trying. And anyway, thank you guys for having me, and to all the fans out there, congratulations on our 100th race in the ALMS. You've made it possible. Thank you very much. There he is, the founder of the American Le Mans Series, Dr. Don Paynos, and if you didn't pick it up, he said they're thinking about re-entering LMP1. Great news. How do you like that view? Imagine facing that in a sports car in between 100 and 200 miles per hour. That's what these guys are doing each and every lap until that sun drops.
Well, this is fascinating stuff right now because Tom Christensen has a 4.5-second lead over Sebastian Bourdais. So typically when they've been double stinning the tires on the Peugeot, it's been giving them about a 10 to 15 second kind of that margin of advantage by not doing that. So certainly you would think if this gap stays the same, Tom takes tires, Sebastian doesn't. Sebastian should leapfrog him on that next set of starts, but Tom would be not that far behind him. So things are really starting to close down.
If it keeps going like that over the next 3 hours, 20 minutes, it's going to be gripping in that final 30 minutes.
Absolutely, and it all depends on when we see any yellow flag action here. Seen a few cars drop out, so the less traffic there is, the less chance of incident. Who knows? You could go green the rest of the way, and then that really means that you've got to get your sums right.
Just think about this guy in this car. As soon as this race is over, he is out of here, straight back to the hotel, straight to bed. Tomorrow, he's straight on a plane across to the West Coast and a 14-hour flight from LA direct to Melbourne for the first Formula One Grand Prix of the year. He arrives on Tuesday in Melbourne. His PR requirements start. Wednesday, more PR. Thursday will be at the track. Friday, on track. Saturday, on track. Sunday, the Grand Prix. It's a heavy workload for the moment, but he really wants to be part of a Le Mans winning team. That's why he is here. GT2, when we see the Paynos more, Ian James doing a great job. Just 2 drivers in this car. This is a big workload for these guys today, maintaining a podium position. Let's hear from Ian James, co-driver.
It's Dominic Farnbacher, and he made the transition this year from a Ferrari F430 into this Paynos. 2 completely different cars. You're putting together a great effort, but what has this transition been like for you?
I mean, it's been quite hard for me because it's a front-engine car, and I've never driven a front-engine car, so it's a lot of fun. I mean, the Paynos is a very good car, and Yokohama gives us the best tires, and I'm very happy that I'm with the PDG team this year.
Working for Tom Milner, who's quick to voice his opinions on drivers, but he says that he hates you less than other race drivers. What has it been like driving for him?
I mean, I really take care of the car, but he said if you scratch it, I kill you, so I really have to take care.
And very quickly, you're getting ready to get behind the wheel. Any feedback that you're getting from your teammate as you get ready for your next stint?
I mean, we only need to drive consistent like we do it so far, and Porsche is pushing from the back, and we're trying to catch the Ferraris in front of us, so it's a nice race.
Thanks, Dominic.
You're welcome.
He's a great guy, Dominic Farnbacher, and a terrific young driver. We've got some pretty big news to let you know. The 66, the de Ferran Motorsports Acura, has retired.
And they are right on that fine line of doing 70% here. It's 70% of the total distance run by the overall leader. So a lot will depend on if we see any caution flag that really slows the pace of the race down towards the end. It's too tough to call right now. We've got to really wait and see if they'll score points today. It'd be devastating. Oh, Christensen there. Got balked a little bit by the 4 Corvette. Just one of those things. You just can't disappear. Tom committed one way and the Corvette was already moving in that direction.
Now that swings the power to the Patron Highcroft team, because these are the 2 P1 Acuras, the DeFerrin car, the Highcroft car, that are going to be going at it all year long. Dario Franchitti, incidentally, is back out on track and in 5th place. Justin?
Well, Dindo, you're like very bubbly. I think you had a great time out there.
Yeah, it was nice. Actually were 2 nice stints. I was a little bit disappointed after my 2nd stint because I felt that there was something wrong, and then when they called me in and they changed the nose and I jumped back in the car just 2 hours ago, I immediately felt that there was something wrong, because now the car was as good as it was yesterday in the last free practice I did. I could push, the tires stay very, very consistent. The only problem was that the Peugeot is pulling away a little bit on the straight and we have no chance to overtake, and I was waiting for some bad traffic for them, which did not happen. Actually, it happened for me more often than for them. And then when I was really catching up, the 2nd Peugeot held me back for 3 laps, which cost me, I would say, between 2 and 3 seconds per lap, because I was the corner 3, 4, and 5. I was in 2nd instead of 3rd gear.
Do you think? So there's a question I'm thinking of. You've been struggling to double stint the tires. Do you think as the temperature goes down, you can do that?
I hope no, because you know, to be honest, to judge which strategy is the best is almost impossible, because if you see that after almost 9 hours the gap is just 3-4 seconds, it's very, very difficult to say which strategy is the best.
So when you're actually thinking about the 12 hours compared to the 24 hours of Le Mans, the effort, the energy, it's not just half, is it?
No, it's not just half, because I can tell you that double stint, 2 stints in Sebring for a driver is like almost 4 stints in Le Mans. It's much more demanding for the driver, for the tire, for everything. We have to say that for us is the very first race with the R15 TDI. We get a lot of bad weather in Europe, and that for us is a very first test in a proper race. And to be so close, or even in front of the Peugeot, which has much more experience than us on their car, I think sounds very good for Le Mans.
It looks like quite a good test so far.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dindo.
Always good to hear from Dindo Capello. This is the car that he shares with Tom Christensen and Alan McNish. 4.1 seconds last time round, the lead margin.
It looks closer now. I think Seb got a better run through traffic. We saw Tom obviously have to jink around that Corvette. That will have cost him a few tenths. As he hits the stripe, we'll wait for Seb and see what the gap is.
Currently 5th place car overall is Dario Franchitti for the Patron Highcroft organization. Kelly has more on this.
And just to close out the story on the problems they were having here, recharging that hydraulic power steering, they have 2 ports that they can use to recharge that. They tried to get to the easy access port, but for whatever reason, it was not accepting any more fluids. So that's why it took them so long to get to the other port. And then it worked just fine. Now, what they're telling me is, the good news is, this is 8.5 hours in. They wouldn't normally have to do this in the rest of the races. The only other time they'll have to maybe have a concern with it will be at Petite, but that's not generally going to be a concern on this car. And obviously, they're getting some of those new car blues out of the way early here at Sebring.
Dario was certainly stoked about driving this car. He said it is so physical, you can't believe it, but they've made the car a lot better. I mean, there's one thing, just the sheer brute force of driving this car around Sebring and the heavy G-loads, but when the car's not handling well as it was initially in the testing, then it just makes it doubly difficult. Now the car's settled down a bit, it's got a better balance, the driver's not fighting the car all the time to get the lap time, it gradually settles down. But he said, we also tried to kind of make a support around our head inside the cockpit there to really help with the G-lows, but the problem was through the high-speed turn 17 with all of the bumps, it was literally smacking you from one side to the other, and you couldn't see anything when you came with the front straightaway, which is the corner he's going through right now. You see the bumps there. He's really smashing his head against the bodyworks there to actually open that gap up around the helmet to allow them to have a little bit more lean in there.
Big family day here at Sebring today for the Frank Kiddies. Of course, Dario's younger brother Marino, one of the 6 drivers in the Dyson camp, and their dad George is here as well, enjoying seeing both of his sons race. We'll be back.
There is the orange and yellow DHL Global Mail livery Porsche RS Spider on the pole in the LFP2 class, leading right now. As you see, Lucas Loris, he has now taken the checker, which means a win in the debut race for the new Porsche RS Spider.
Come here the first time, show up and win. It's really sweet.
Be sure not to miss Drag Race High Wednesday at 10 Eastern only on Speed. And it's an all-new Drag Race High. When the sponsor shows up, both teams scramble to make a good impression, and raging wildfires threaten to scorch the Wildcats. We are back at Sebring, continuing with the Mobil 1 12 hours of Sebring. And look at this. Peugeot back in. Watch them execute this stop.
This is not scheduled. This is way early. Justin?
Yeah, you say way early, but at the moment, other than rear tires about to go on, I can't see what's unusual about it. They're refueling. I'm going to have a look, guys, but tires are off, new tires on, and they're gone. Funny that it's rears only, so let's think about that. I've got to say one thing else, guys. I've never heard a silent wheel spin as they leave the pits. You were talking about it earlier, 4,500 revs or something off the launch control, and it's silent. It's the oddest thing. But rear tires only, they must be having a problem with balance.
Interesting.
Well, that was about half a stint, so Seb was obviously feeling something. Maybe they saw something on the telemetry, tire pressure sensor maybe. But a bit of a strange call. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out. This changes the ball game.
And Calvin, if you came in, why wouldn't you do fronts as well? Just for the extra 6 seconds or something, 8 seconds?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, typically they can change 4 tires. They're only allowed 2 wheel guns, so it'll be a little bit more efficient just to change the rears. But, you know, every second counts. So if they are absolutely certain it was just a rear, sometimes a driver can feel some, say it feels like a left rear, but it's actually, you know, cross-section across the car. It could be a different tire that's giving you that feel. So, but with today's technology and telemetry that they have on hand, certainly they could pinpoint that a little bit better than we used to.
That has opened up the margin between Christensen and Bourdais massively. And we'll update you in just a moment. As soon as Bourdais completes this lap, we'll let you know. We can tell you that, of course, Mike Rockenfeller has leapfrogged Bourdais, so it's Audi 1-2 right now. And we'll let you know just how far and how significant that gap is back to the car on screen right now. Christian Klein maintains his position in 4th. Frank Kitty is 5th. The best P2 car, the only P2 car out there, is Diaz, Luis Diaz for Los Fernandez Racing. Best GT1 car is Jan Magnussen in 7th. And the best GT2 car remains the Risi Competizione Ferrari 430 behind, with Jamie Mello behind the wheel in 10th overall. While we're away, we were talking a lot about the Pano's Team PTG Esperante, and while we're in the break, it executed a pit stop, and Kelly was there. Tell us more.
Ian James came into the pit for the 21 Panos. Dominic Farnbacher making the driver change, but it was a longer than usual pit stop. They decided to change both front brakes, rotors, everything, as they were wearing down the front brake pads. And Tom Milner telling me there wasn't anything wrong. They just weren't going to make it till the end. They decided that this was the time to replace those front brakes. And also down at the 62 Risi, you saw Jamie Mello get behind the wheel. Mika Salo was scheduled to do a double stint, but he called over the radio to say he was ready to come in.
Well, you can see there they utilize PFC brakes, performance friction brakes, and they have a quick release system where you don't have to bleed it. You can actually disconnect the whole caliper and change it without getting any air in the system. So these guys have been supported by Don Bagoon and that whole organization for many years, so they have the latest trick stuff on that car.
So the pressure's on for that final step of the podium. This car here is still in 3rd. for that. Behind Mello and Bruni, behind the two Ferrari 430s, it's the Panos being chased by the 45 of Patrick Long. Here he is on screen right now. And then it's the sister Flying Lizard Porsche in 5th in class with Seth Nyman, the team principal, behind the wheel.
Well, that brake change for the Panos has certainly narrowed that gap. The 45 car is now on the same lap as the 21 car, and they've really been on a charge since that early stop in the race when Bergmeister had contact with Murray.
Got any more on Pat Long, Justin?
Yes, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to do our blog with him, or vlog, as it should be called, but he gave me a few pointers just to pass on to you, the viewers. One of which is that he's very well rested, thank you very much. He did make it over to Green Park, where I mean, you'll be pleased, Lee, to know this. He met a lovely girl called Sheila, and he is also moving to Australia in the near future. He came back, had a nice little massage, a little bit of pasta. Unfortunately, he then put on Jorg's underwear, which drivers are close, but not quite snug enough for him to go fast. And that's why he was running into the car quite so quickly. He will be back for a formal update later. And please don't believe anything you just heard.
I was just about to say that. Pat's got business on his mind, and he wants to get this 45 Porsche on the podium.
Jorg's underwear would be like a full bodysuit on Pat. I mean, he's half his size.
Yes, he didn't have to wear balaclava for this run.
They have 3 definite seating positions in this car, and it's very similar just to our normal street cars with a movable seat, because Bergmeister is so tall. It's not that Pat Long is all that short, but he is in comparison to Bergmeister, and Mark Lieb, the third driver in this car, kind of comes in the middle. So they have their 3 different seating positions. But for Pat, if Pat takes over after Jorg Bergmeister, he just slams the seat all the way forward, and there's a stop there. So he doesn't have to mess around with it, trying to find a slot. It just goes right under the stop, and he knows exactly where he needs to be. But they're all chasing, when I say they all, in GT2, they're all chasing this car. Could it be scenes of 2007 all over again, where they were victorious here and victorious in the championship and the team's championship? Let's find out more from the Risi team.
I've got Mika Salo, who just stepped out of that 62 Risi Ferrari. And Mika, you said you're begging them not to put you back in the car. In fact, you asked out a little early of that last stint. Is it just the physical track, or is it all the experience that you've had?
No, everything is going so well. I don't want to go and screw it all up anymore. So, no, I haven't driven actually since last race last year. Not 1 meter, so it's quite physical for me, because only good training for racing is drive, and it's 6 months since I sat in a car last time, so it is actually very hard.
Given your starting position, you guys had to go to the back because of Jamie's problems getting into the country. Were you surprised at all how quickly you've gone to the front and how easy it's been relatively easy to maintain that lead?
No, it's we knew the car is good in the race pace. We were all the time setting the car up during the week for the race, not for qualifying, and it worked out. We are very easy on tires. We can double stint the tires, and car's handling so well now in the race. Okay, a couple Porsches had problems. I don't know if we could match their pace if they were still in the race, but they're not, so we don't have to think about it. And we're leading by 2 laps, and that's enough.
You're just doing these long distance races, but I understand that you have some other driving prospects out there. What else are you working on these days?
Well, I don't have anything else at the moment, but I just wanted to keep my options open, and we'll see later. So I'm free after this race, so we'll do whatever I want. So I hope something comes up.
We'll keep an eye out. Thanks, Mika.
Thank you.
Well, this would be a special car if it was to win here, Leaks. At one at Le Mans, one Petit, and it'd be the same chassis that would be winning here. So pretty special for a driver to win 3 races, but the same car would be unbelievable.
You see on the doors there, Ferrari of Houston. That is Mr. Risi's business, Giuseppe Racing. He's won this event overall. He's won it in class. He knows the way to victory lane. Brian is back on the other side of this break.
You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed.
the sights and sounds of Sebring International Raceway. Hello everyone, welcome back to Speed's coverage of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, the 57th running of this great event. We saw those burnouts, and that's all well and good, but when you talk about testing and preparing for Le Mans, we won't see that stuff over there.
No, I mean, there's a rule against getting any tire slippage coming out of the pit, so you certainly have to be on top of every aspect of the rules there. Another interesting rule, which we believe they're going to stick with, is that you're only going to have one gun in pit lane in terms of changing the tires. So that will really put a lot more emphasis on these teams trying to get to the point that, like Peugeot are doing, where they're extending the amount of runs that they do without changing tires, because you're going to lose a lot more time. Right now you're allowed 2 guns in pit lane. They're going to reduce it to just 1, trying to get more tire life during the course of the 24-hour race.
Tom Christensen leads overall. You see those beautiful LED lights on the rear of the brand new Audi R15. No longer just little taillights down in the bottom, but the LED taillights on the wings, and also LED headlights, which is something new. And we talk about at Le Mans and some of the rules over there, that no wheel spinning on the way out. When you're double stinting tires, that really becomes difficult, Calvin, because now the tire's nice and hot, and it's sometimes hard to get the car moving. It's got so much grip.
It really is. It's something that the drivers really have to be aware of, or certainly the engineers, because so many of these launch controls are dictated by the engineers and the software settings. But when a tire's cold, you're obviously going to break traction a lot sooner than if you've got a hot tire and you come in and go out again. So at Le Mans, triple, quadruple stinting tires is not abnormal. So it obviously means that you've got to be very careful getting out of pit lane. And if you just try and crawl out, it's very easy to stall the car.
And if you get a little too aggressive, because the last time you were in the car, the last time you left pit lane, you had hot tires on and they're cold this time, it's real easy to spin the tire. So you get in trouble that way. One way or another, it's one of those rules that you have to abide by. And as we've seen earlier today with some of the GT teams, if you don't run a series on a regular basis, we saw the Advanced Engineering PCOM racing team in their GT2 Ferrari fall afoul of the rules on pit stops. It's easy to make that mistake.
Tom Christensen is now 23 laps into this stint, on his 24th lap. Dindo did 26 on the previous run, so a little bit shy of what we'd seen earlier in the race. All these drivers will get slightly different mileage just in terms of their driving style, but I'm trying to work out here on back time from the end of the race. Here we're looking at the sister car, Mike Rockenfeller, who's currently holding down 2nd position. He's got a great pace going as well. Both these guys running in the mid-45 range on that last lap. That's 1 minute 45. But I think the main contenders here in this race will need to make 4 more stops. So when you try and work out the strategy here, Bourdais made that unscheduled start for those rear tires a few laps ago. I think he's still going to need a 4th stop, maybe only for a splash if we stay green, but I think he'll need to make a 4th stop as well.
It's like you said, you really have to back time it from the end. And when I look at that, I go, well, there's no way Tom Christensen is going to stay in the car until the end. But Christensen is really the guy who seems to come alive late in the race. We've seen him hold his own destiny in his hands at Le Mans, and he wants it that way. And we've seen him do it here at Sebring as well.
Certainly have over the years, but I mean, there isn't a weak link on this Audi team. And when your backup plan is Alan McNish, I hate to call it a backup plan because that may be their primary plan. I mean, Alan has really shown himself to have all of the speed of Tom. He may not have had the luck or the wins over the years in the big races, but he certainly has the speed of this man. So TK or Alan McNish, they're the best, either one, as you know, Justin.
They are, but of course it's where the rubber meets the road that sometimes can be a bit vulnerable. And remember when the Peugeot came back in just for rear tires, it turns out that it was a, let's call it a sensor driven puncture, as in the driver was unaware that the rear right tire actually was starting to go down because it literally had some debris go into it. And yeah, but the engineers can obviously see it. And at the speeds, at the incredible cornering speeds they're going through, you wouldn't want to find out the ugly way. But that led me to a conversation with Michelin, oddly enough, not down at Peugeot, who were telling me that, you know, at Corvette, that right now they're entering into a very kind of interesting territory. It was 88 degrees at 3:20 this afternoon. It's now 72 degrees, 16 degrees swing. You're going to start to see tires. You're almost getting into the other tire threshold before you have to start changing compounds. And sometimes it's only 15 degrees swing, guys, so it's not a lot before you start having to looking at different rubber. But the track is now dirty. There's an awful lot of damage being done to some cars and things falling off, and now those guys are back in the garage. So it's not necessarily the virgin track we were looking at earlier, and maybe we're going to see a little bit more damage to tires come, you know, hopefully not to the front runners, but it's definitely a possibility right now.
Very interesting design on TK's helmet this year. We were on board there for a long time, and you could see kind of it was kind of a cartoonish character of one of the Audi sports. There it is again. You can see there the front and rear wheels and the roll hood, something emblazoned on the right side. Pretty cool design, and TK's really into that sort of stuff. He designs his own watches in conjunction with one of the watch manufacturers over in Europe. He has his own line of sportswear. So pretty cool cat, our TK.
And he is a character. You know, at the racetrack, he is definitely all business. Certainly in the cockpit, he is all business. But outside, he is a really fun guy to be around. We've had the pleasure of being around them in celebratory fashion. And now the 07 on pit lane.
They dive in that cockpit again. We saw that lengthy pit stop to fix the air conditioning and the fan system, which Chris Neville said maybe it does more than just work with the air conditioning system. Maybe it's helping out the electronics as well. Very much a rumor, but yeah, Justin's right there on board.
Absolutely. The interesting thing was they actually got the guns as close as the lug nuts and then pulled back on the tires. And one of the engineers checked the tires and obviously said they were fine to go double. So that was a nice stop, although they had a little adjustment on the car, which took another couple of seconds. But they were right there, guys. I think they were absolutely having to monitor tire wear at this point, which fits in, I think, with what I said a few minutes ago.
Saw a tear off there. We talked about the dirt and debris around this Sebring racetrack. What they did is really just refresh those headlamps. They had like a tear off, like a piece of tape over the headlight covers, torn that off, and certainly the driver will have better view now.
We were talking about this earlier, Calvin, and you know, for the past several years I've been fortunate enough to be on pit lane. This year, fortunate enough to be up here sharing the commentary with you and Lee and Dorsey. I don't remember the racetrack being this dirty at this point in the race, and I said the same thing much earlier in the day. You've been up here and seen it over the years. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it there just going down that straightaway. There's pieces of rubber all over the place, and it's quite strange, but you'd think it would be less. We've got slightly lower car count this year. We've certainly got the quality in the field when you look at the marks that are running up front. But just the economic impact has really had its toll on some of the teams that haven't shown for this year, and particularly this long endurance event. But yeah, you'd think ideally it would be a little bit cleaner at this stage of the game, but the drivers will deal with it, and they can certainly make some adjustments, and you just get into a rhythm. You know where the slippery spots are, and you just have to be aware and on your toes at all times. It will catch you out in a heartbeat.
Well, Tom Christensen leads overall, chasing history as we have seen him do many times before at Le Mans. He's chasing a 5th overall win here, which would be history, and we're used to seeing history in the American Le Mans Series. All 10 American Le Mans Series 2009 races will be featured on the Best of XM on Sirius Satellite throughout the season, with John Hindhaugh and the Series radio team providing the commentary. Races will be aired by both XM and Sirius Satellite Radio, so check out the listings for the scheduled air times. You can't... We are indeed in Florida, and of course you can tell by the flamingos, these larger than most, but the fans continuing to gather and watch and celebrate in the infield, and just about any kind of party palace you can imagine has been constructed there in Green Park.
I think Dorsey was the engineer on most of them.
On board your ride with Tom Christensen as he flashes by more flamingos, yet down the back straightaway here. Christensen with about 21 seconds in hand over teammate Mike Rockefeller, and fitting that they're both in the cars at the same time, because we've talked earlier about what a great young driver Mike Rockefeller is, but I think perhaps the most telling comment I've heard made about his career came from this man right here, Tom Christensen, who said, oh, and he's on pit road, who last year said about Mike Rockefeller, he reminds me of me when I was younger. Christensen coming down pit road, and Calvin, is this a schedule?
It is 28 laps, so he went a little bit further than Dindo did, so all according to plan. And if it's according to plan, we should see Tom stay in the car and some new rubber going on.
One of the hardest working guys out there, not Tom Christensen, but Dave Svensson, one of our cameramen. You saw him running with that very heavy camera down pit lane to get you the shots here as TK pulls up to the stop. See the crew
Got a thumbs up there. If you're going to have brake wear, it's going to be on that left front corner. That's the one that gets the most heat around this racetrack. And talking to the crew, they said if we have to do a brake change, forget about it. I mean, we talk about the R8, how serviceable it was, but with this latest generation of prototype cars, you can't build a fast car and be able to change all of the parts easy. So they felt they were certainly good to go for the 24 Hours of Le Mans and this 12-hour race in terms of brake wear. But if you have one thing go wrong, you lose a brake duct, something like that, that can throw it completely out of the ballpark.
Staying with their strategy, you saw them change tires, fill it with fuel, and amazingly enough, Cal, if you or I had been running down pit lane with that camera, those shots would not have been that steady when we got there.
Well, they would have been, because the camera would have been on the floor.
Well rested on pit lane. TK back underway, and the thing that's so amazing, remember in American Le Mans Series competition, if you're a fan of Formula One, the tires are not the same when they leave pit road, meaning right now these were at ambient temperature when they left. No tire warmers, no blankets allowed, so it's going to take a while to get these tires up to temperature.
You have to be very careful, because even the best in the business, Sebastien Bourdais, on his outlap here earlier in the week, spun the Peugeot around and crashed it pretty heavily, so it's just the nature of the beast. We saw Alan McNish on the warm-up lap getting to the grid at Petit Le Mans, had that major crash which started them 2 or 3 laps down, and they came back for that spectacular win. But the best guys in the business, suddenly when it goes and you're on cold tires, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to really tiptoe around.
But the best guys in the business have that outlap that is still very, very quickly, and that's the magic time, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the in and the outlap, you saw it for so many years in Formula One with Michael Schumacher. To the other extreme, he had hot tires. Certainly in Formula One, you had hot tires, but you still had to get into a rhythm, and he just made the most he could out of the in-lap and the outlap, and he won a lot of races that way in terms of strategy with Ross Brawn and the Ferrari team. But for drivers who have been brought up in Europe in the cold conditions, you know, when these guys were brought up through the single-seater ranks, you didn't have tire warmers, and you were racing in races where the conditions were, you were always on cold tires for about the first 5 or 6 laps. So it's really your background and your upbringing. They certainly need to know how to get the most out of the car in these conditions.
And it's not just the temperature, it's the pressures that have to move as well. As you see the 9 car back on pit lane, Franchitti sits in the seat right now. That car in 5th.
How do you feel these tires are? Are they good for another good, still got good grip?
Asking Dario about the tires.
Another stint. You okay?
Not hearing the response from Dario, so I don't think his radio may be working. I think he's hearing Rob Hill. And they had some drama earlier with the power steering system. And we heard from Simon Pagenaud that he was triple stinting the tires on his Acura. Not sure what the Highcroft boys have been doing today.
And I'm sure you guys talked about the power steering. They've said that power steering, or the steering, is so heavy on this new P1 car, it would have taken 5 of the electric power steering pumps from the P2 car to operate it, so they were forced to go to a hydraulic system. And that just shows you the amount of downforce that this new P1 Acura has. Good look at the 08 Sebastien Bourdais, but understand this last lap has not been particularly smooth. Take a look.
Let's have a look here. Whoa.
Now, here's the concern. If you go back to Le Mans, and yes, we were in wet conditions, and yes, that dust and that dirt that gets on the track when it gets wet turns into mud. But remember the radiator problems that the Peugeot team had.
Right.
As Mike Rockenfeller now on pit lane. Justin?
Yeah, at the moment they're standing just putting in the fuel and waiting, actually with only tires on hold. It looks like they're going to do the front left as we sit here, but as you say, there's only one gun either side, so we'll wait to see. But obviously Rocky's staying in the car. As you instantly pointed out about the lights earlier, the front lights on this really do show that it was, you know, really the lights are less effective at this other than the fancy Audi road car lights. And really it is softer tires going on and obviously a full fuel load. Rocky's looking pretty calm and composed. Earlier, actually, I saw sweat running down his face, and I can't see it now, so temperature's obviously better. Car pulls out.
Sticking to their game plan. Single spinning tires. And this is what you're talking about, Brian. Cold tires, trying to get up to speed. You just have to be careful, but you can't afford to just dawdle around here and give some of that advantage you have back to the opposition.
When we talk about temperature, talk about pressure for a second too, Calvin, because everybody thinks, well, they just need to be hot, but pressure is also a very important part.
Absolutely, because the tire pressure really creates the spring rate in the tire as well, which really helps the suspension and also changes the ride height of the car. Imagine as the tires kind of get blown up with the increase in pressure from the heat, it raises the car off the floor and gets it to its optimum ride height for how the car will handle. So it's very important the drivers do this, and you know, once you get back into that sweet spot, then they'll start to fly again. It should only take about a lap or two to really get that right back to where it needs to be.
Based on the pit stops right now, Rockenfeller was shown in the lead the last time by on timing and scoring. That will obviously change. Things setting up well for a very close and exciting finish here at Sebring. It was certainly that way in 2007. They don't get any better than the GT2 finish from that year. When we talk about 100 events, let's take a look back at the 2007 Sebring finish.
The gap is down to an even 1 second. 12 hours of racing, and it has come down to this. Ferrari versus Porsche. Bergmeister gets on the inside, can't quite execute the move. As he switched on him, he gets the inside run. Race. They touch. And Mello will get it. The Ferrari wins GT2.
Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car event, returns to speed. The finest examples of the finest automobiles ever manufactured are all up for sale. Barrett-Jackson live from Palm Beach begins April 9th, 12 Eastern, only on Speed. Take a look at Green Challenge update, the Michelin Green X Challenge in the prototype category. The number 2 Audi up on top, followed by the number 1, then the 07 Team Peugeot. So right now, all of the diesels being very efficient in running right now, because we've seen the problems, of course, for the gasoline-powered Acuras. So right now, it looks like diesel in prototype, but look at GT, the Corvettes on that E85 doing a good job with the environment, going far and going fast, and then the 44 Flying Lizard Porsche. It is a beautiful evening here in Central Florida. The clouds that we thought might drop rain earlier in the day have gone away. And late in the evening, you start to get the smell of those orange blossoms in this springtime air, and it is a fantastic event. It's kind of a confusing event as well. You smell that sweetness of the orange blossoms from the groves around, and yet the exhaust from these exotic racing machines as you watch the glowing brake rotors of the Peugeot flash through turn 17.
When your nose is as big as mine, Brian, it's a very special time.
Take in all the smells. Right now, Sebastian Bourdais being shown in the lead. Now, remember, he's kind of off song, so to speak, on his pit stop, off schedule, because he had to make that early stop. He had that tire going down. At least that's what the tire sensor said.
That's right. And he's 20 laps into this stint, so he could get, you know, they've been jockeying around in how long they'll be able to run these stints, but at least another 8 laps, I would suspect, before Seb will see pit lane. And then I'll be curious to see how things stack up and back time to the checkered flag as to whether he'll be able to make it on 2 more stops or whether he'll need 3 more stops after this one.
If there's any question about technology moving from motorsports into your street car, I think that tire sensor is a perfect example. It existed for years, or it has existed in years, in open wheel racing. We've seen it in sports car racing, a neat little sending unit that sends information back to the onboard computer that then sends it via telemetry back to the pit lane. But it's found its way into street cars as well. I know that my Suburban certainly has that, as do a lot of street cars, and that's a direct transfer of data and technology that racing created that's found its way into the street cars.
Absolutely, and so much more of this technology that we're seeing on these super sophisticated race cars will find your way onto your street cars very soon, and that's the whole purpose. It's really a test bed for technology for street cars, and that's what's driving these manufacturers to be out here in the first place, is to really create a brand that everyone wants to go out and buy. And Peugeot is certainly doing a tremendous job with this. I mean, you have to say this is one of the sexiest race cars you're ever going to see. I mean, I just love the closed cockpit design. I mean, just so sleek. The color scheme, it's just perfect.
It's gotten to be right up there on my list, along with the Bentley Speed 8, that that we saw win several years ago at Le Mans in the hands of Tom Christensen. Guy Smith, I think, was on board that car as well.
Seb is really laying down some fast laps. He's back down into the 44 range, and the Audis are running 46s, 47s, 48s, depending on traffic. So Bourdais realizes that suddenly from being, you know, in prime position, they really have to push very, very hard now and try and execute and maximize the lap time that's in this race car during these final few hours.
And these are awesome shots from the Porsche aerial cam as you watch the Peugeot fly out of the hairpin, working its way down now towards one of the tighter turns, and now you're on board the number 2. Tom Christensen on board working his magic as the leader in GT1 is in. Justin?
Yep, Johnny O'Connell is getting into his car. They just did the tear off on the screen. They're cleaning the front lights, they're cleaning the front grills, and obviously the fuel going into the car right now. And they are actually putting a softer compound onto this car because, as I said earlier, the temperature has shifted quite dramatically on track temperature, and it's time to try and maximize that grip. So, you know, all steady here for the Corvette, but I would like to give an update. Actually, Don Panos does everything for his fans, and we didn't have a flyover at the start, but if you look just above us in the southern sky at about 8:10 tonight, the space shuttle is going to come from east to west, and because of the way the sun is, it's going to glint up there in the sky. So you can go to heavensabove.com and you can actually track it above us. There you are. You knew I was full of celestial wanderings.
I knew you were full of something.
No, you had to. Some people have said my head is in the clouds, but here we are.
Well,
anyway, you look out.
Johnny O is on another great run here. Can he make it 8 wins at Sebring? He has the record at 7, 1 overall back in 1994. The rest in class, of course, predominantly with this Corvette racing team, and they're looking good once again.
A 19th consecutive start here at Sebring for Johnny O'Connell. If you look under records in the American Le Mans Series media guide, it just says Johnny O'Connell.
Yeah.
He seems to have most of them. This is his 96th start in 100 events. We've talked about history of the American Le Mans Series. Now 100 races old, and someone else will add their name to the record books here in just a little over 2 hours. Stay around. Headlights shining brightly here at Sebring International Raceway, and it's great to see. This is the magic time when you get to watch the brake rotors turn bright orange, Dorsey, under heavy braking for these prototypes and GT cars alike. And this is when it gets really busy. You know, a lot of times it's interesting. You see these faster laps being set at nighttime because of the cool air. I always thought it'd be more difficult to drive at night. Maybe you can't see enough to be scared.
That's exactly true. There's no doubt about that. I mean, your line of visibility is limited, so your concentration is more focused. You can't see all the distraction, and you do go faster. I mean, the tires are cooler, the racetrack's got more grip, engine's making more horsepower, and those fast laps definitely coming. Speaking of fast laps, Seabass, of course, has broken the track record. Fastest time 1:43.978 eclipses what was the quickest time for these cars.
As you watch Sebastian Bourdais run down the back straightaway through 17, you can see the difference in the headlights that we've talked about throughout the evening hours here. The prototypes with the bright white headlights, and as you look further back, the GT car following behind with those yellow lenses on the headlights. And it really is a benefit to everybody, because when you check your mirror, you immediately know what type of car is behind you and whether you need to take a closer look or whether you don't need to worry about it.
Absolutely right. And you were talking about brake, rotor glow. These are carbon brakes. So the rotor is carbon, and so are the brake pads. And that runs at a much higher temperature than steel does. And with that, you get those really, really bright glows. And it can also tell you by looking at it what the brake bias is like on the race car. If you see huge amount of glow on the front and very little on the back, they've got way too much front brake in the car. Vice versa, you see too much rear brake on, you usually got the tail lights in front of the headlights.
Saw Bourdais flashing headlights at a GT car as he's working through the tighter sections of the racetrack. That was turn 8 and then through turn 9. Let's look at GT1. There's the number 3 Corvette. You know how I know that? It's because my producer told me so, because I couldn't see anything but bright headlights as he came towards us. Johnny O'Connell.
And these cars will generate the most glow because, of course, they're the heaviest, and they have to slow from a very high speed because they run really quick on top end, but they have to slow to a much slower speed for the corner than does a prototype.
Down into the hairpin, turn 7. Look, there you go.
See a lot of front brake on. You can see he's got much more front rotor glow, very little in the back.
Let's check in with the Corvette pits and Chris Neville.
Well, Jan Magnussen just turned that car over to Johnny O'Connell, and in the past 2 years at Le Mans, you've been beaten by Aston Martin. So what are you guys doing here this weekend to make sure you get victory in June?
Well, we're working on all the little things. We have 2 new drivers we have to try and fit into the team. This is going really, really well. Both of them are doing an excellent job. Right now, we're doing some tire work, trying to test some different compounds, see what we like. So.
Okay, you're saying you're doing some tire work, but the 3 car has the lead. So is this the way it's going to finish up? Or if the 4 car can close in on the 3, are you guys going to be able to do some battle?
We're racing 100% just like everybody else. Obviously, wouldn't be good if we hit each other off the track, but we are racing with no rules.
Well, good luck. Hopefully you guys get the victory out there. I know when we look at these GT1 cars, how great they've been over the years, we're only going to see this car a couple more times this year at Long Beach and then at Le Mans, and then it's going to be onto the GT2 car, and lots of changes with that car. It is almost finished. In fact, they hung the bodywork just before this weekend, and they're going to start testing in about 3 weeks. Now, some of the differences that the GT1 has that the GT2 isn't going to have, some of the big stuff, no carbon brakes on that car. It is going to have the same motor that is currently in the GT1 car, but they're going to de-stroke that engine, and what that means, Dorsey, you can go probably into it a little bit deeper than I can, but it's going to shorten the stroke from a 6-liter, from the 7-liter it is, down to a 6-liter. So, Dorsey, maybe you want to take that one a little further.
What they'll probably do, Chris, is change the crankshaft, and the crankshaft, of course, the throws from the center line to the upper part of the throw will be reduced. They won't have as much of a stroke. In other words, the rod won't go as high in the bore, and with that, they will it will decrease the amount of engine size from that. There's more than one way to skin that cat, but Chevrolets are really good. In fact, I increased my boat motors the very same way by taking the stock 454 crankshaft out. I made 496s by putting a roller assembly in there. It's just a matter of bolting new pieces together.
You know, always need more power, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Bourdais on pit road. We'll see if there's a driver change. No, it looks like he'll stay in the car. And the interesting thing is, will he double stint tires yet again?
Doesn't look like it. Looks like they're preparing, and this could be a compound change, being that it's cooled down.
Well, guys, I'm down here. They're just doing fuel. You can obviously see that Sebastian is going to stay in the car. They're going to do 4 new tires. I've been trying to listen to them on the scanner and see if I can pick something up there, but these guys are speaking in French, so I don't know what that means. You know, maybe you might need Justin to try and figure that one out, or at least he'd make something up. But I'm assuming that probably with the temperature coming down and with these guys not at the front and trying to catch up to the Audis, that they've got to get aggressive on their tire choice. Kelly?
Down here at the number 9 Patron Highcroft Acura coming back in, they're experiencing more problems with that hydraulic steering rack. They're losing some pressure again, so they're going to try to recharge it. They said the good news is this time they know where to go and how to do it, so it should be a quicker process. I think they tried to kind of ride it out as long as they could so that they could make that driver change. So now David Brabham taking over from Dario Franchitti.
Let me try to explain. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, Dorsey.
Well, let me try to explain what this is like. This car has got such big tires on the front, and it has so much aerodynamic downforce on the front. It would be the equivalent to you in your street car taking 5,000 pounds of weight and setting it on the hood of your car. Your power steering would not be able to handle that. It would fail instantly.
Well, yeah, because it would crush the front of the car.
Well, that too. That aside, they have a very, very complex system of hydraulics. It starts at the engine with a massive pump that pumps hydraulic fluid through steel lines to a little servo pump, a smaller pump, if you will, that helps that rack and pinion steering, because the rack and pinion to handle that load would have to be the same as a semi-truck. Huge. It wouldn't fit up there, so they have a little one. So it's an extremely complex system. They're losing their charge. In other words, they're losing their hydraulic pressure somewhere in that line system, and it is impossible to steer this car under those circumstances. That steering wheel you see him messing with as well is, you need to be a rocket scientist to even understand that. Everything is controlled via that steering wheel.
And Duncan Dayton, who's the team owner here, is a very accomplished race car driver himself. He has won at Monaco several times in vintage Formula One races. He knows how to drive a race car. When we were here for the winter test, we asked him about the steering wheel. He said, first of all, it cost over $100,000. And as we started to go through the buttons, he seemed very knowledgeable through about the first 4 buttons, and then he looked at me and said, you know what, honestly, I have no clue.
Is it a Gucci or something? How can it be $100,000?
I mean, you think about the computer systems involved with it and what it controls. Well, it's a pretty amazing piece. But we also knew from the test, Dorsey, that this hydraulic system just may be the Achilles heel, at least here at Sebring.
Well, we asked that question, you and I together, what happens when it fails or if it fails, and the answer is you're stuck. You can't do anything. These cars are driven by computer. There is still a man there. They try to, engineer him out best they can, but he's still in there. But all of the systems on this car, everything that does work or does not work, is relative to that computer. Very little has to do with the guy sitting in those belts.
They've tried to engineer us out for a long time. Steve Cole, who works with Brett Miller and down at the Corvette program, used to be one of my engineers and crew chiefs. And I asked him once, if you're not going to listen to me, why do I even come here? And his answer was, because the rule book says we have to have you. So there you have it. Right now, Tom Christensen, history. He wants to make more of it. Can he be the first 5-time winner overall here at Sebring? We'll find out. The 57th running of this great endurance event. Christensen continuing to lead overall. History, we've seen plenty of it made through 99 events in the American Le Mans Series. In its 100th event, will we see it made again as Tom Christensen flashes through turn 17 down the front straightaway of what used to be a World War II bomber training base as he leads yet another lap. 309 in the books here in the 57th running of this great endurance event. Pleased and honored to have Scott Atherton, President and CEO of the American Le Mans Series, in the booth with us. We've had several guests today. We saved the best for last, Scott.
I'm glad to hear that.
We won't tell Don that because he was here earlier.
Yeah, didn't you say that to him earlier?
Something like that.
Well, I wasn't up here, so I really don't know what was said. We look at this event, and I think a lot of people, starting several months ago, as they look forward to the event and they looked at the economy at the time, went, uh-oh. But we were just talking about the field that was here. 28 cars entered, really wasn't down that much. And I think the thing that really is telling is the manufacturer involvement. As we watch TK flash by on track yet again, the manufacturing involvement that not only has stayed constant and consistent, but has actually grown.
If you look at the quality of this field, and some are immediately going to say, oh, he's going to say the quality message here, and that it really is.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly been years with more cars. I don't know that anybody can recall in certainly recent times more quality.
Oh no, you look at the prototype 1 category, and the whole Audi Peugeot thing has been spectacular. But what no one thought would happen was Scott Dixon in the lap that he laid down to go on the pole. And we all know that when you come to Sebring with something untried, sometimes you can end up with the harsh reality of what this place is. But I think the prototype class has really been the shining star.
It has put on exactly the show that we had hoped. And your comments about qualifying are exactly true. I checked both the French and the German translation, and the Acura on the pole wasn't in either script. So.
I'm sure it wasn't. Now, we were here for the winter test and listened to the press conferences there. But what I really left with was an adamant message from you, not an arrogant message, an adamant message of just because things are tough, that doesn't mean that we're going to pull the reins back and stop. We've gone after it from the beginning. We're going to continue to do so. I think your term was, we will not lift.
Yeah, we used a racing analogy. The driver that refuses to lift, typically gets through the corner fastest. And we would like to have that be the mindset, and I think it really is. If you look at the caliber of this event, the number of fans that have turned out, Trey Stevenson and his staff certainly haven't lifted in their promotion and organization here. We look at the sponsors that have joined us, brand new ones announced this week. Mobil One just announcing a 3-year extension of their title here. So at a time when many companies are questioning their involvement with this type of sponsorship and you know, putting their name on large public events. We're very fortunate to have some long-term commitments being made under very challenging situations.
Well, you just said it, and I'll tell you what's telling here. That is, the car count is down. There's no question about that. And I think everybody understands fully why that is. But the fan count is not down. If it is down, it's not perceivably down because this place is packed.
It is. It's you know, as you know, I'm always going to give the straight answer, and we're down a tick. It's somewhere between 3-5%, something in that range. We're actually still counting them. What it means is we're back to a 2007 crowd, and if we were all here in 2007, we'd be celebrating this turnout.
Well, absolutely, you would be for sure. And I've been to a lot of races so far this year, and this one, as far as percentage down, is much better than a lot that I've seen.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know, when we came into this weekend, we actually been tracking fairly consistently in advance sales. We had a great walk-up. I think that's the story of the season, frankly, from other motorsports events. You get nice weather, you're going to get a real strong walk-up. And we had one here today. I think it might have been a record walk-up here Saturday.
I was about to say, I don't know how you nailed the weather again, but that didn't hurt anything.
Now, let's talk relationships, because one of the reasons why the American Le Mans Series is so strong and has been from its inception is the relationship that you guys have with the ACO, the ability to share rules and such. This year a little bit different. I know that the ACO, as we move to Le Mans itself, some of the pit stop rules will be somewhat different. Why did we not elect to use them here? I think what we've got is better, by the way, but that relationship really seems to be one of give and take.
It is. You know, we are completely connected to the ACO and to the Le Mans rules, and then there's an asterisk at the end of that sentence. And there's rules that are written and optimized for a single 24-hour event at a very unique venue, and they work perfectly there. But perhaps that's not an ideal fit for 10 races across very diverse venues across a long period of the calendar in North America. And when we can make a logical argument that it makes sense to do it here slightly different while still respecting their rules, thankfully we have their support.
You know, Scott, I know that as you move into a season, certainly you have it mapped out, but your vision, I know, goes much further down the road. Give us kind of a look into the future a little bit.
Well, I think this series is ideally positioned, and we've said that for quite some time now, but I think it's true more today than ever, for the next generation of motorsports and for automotive technology as we know it. You know, this is a platform that allows manufacturers to bring new technology that not only has a racing application, but more importantly, has a direct link back to the road car. And we're working on alternative fuel technology, fuel efficiency, emission controls. There's a whole litany of things with our partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Energy, which is really an alliance that we've formed along with SAE International. While it's an incredibly challenging economic situation right now, we have not lost sight of the bigger picture and the future for what that all means for us.
You know, I've been to the corporate office a few times. I've never been in your office. Julie won't let me in, actually. But how many hats hang on the wall? Because you wear a bunch of different ones.
Well, yeah, if you want to dig deeper into that, it's the official title is president of Panos Motorsports Group, which I'm fortunate to be involved with not only the American Le Mans Series, but also IMSA, the 3 racetracks, Sebring, Road Atlanta, Mosport up in Canada, and then also we have a manufacturing division called Elan Motorsports Technologies, where we manufacture race cars and related technologies.
So boredom is not an option.
Man, I tell you, if you you know, it does give you the benefit, though, of when things may be a little trying in one area, you can switch hats and, you know, feel good about what's happening in another.
You know, it was interesting. We were standing in the hotel the other night, and standing there, we were having a conversation, you and I, and Dr. Panos walked up and had a conversation about some stuff that perhaps was in the press that he didn't know about and that you did. And I found it interesting, as close as you guys were, that there were actually things that got by each one of you.
Well, you know, Don has a unique way of, he's his own press officer, I think you've probably come to realize. And yeah, when I got the email alert from one of the more prominent motorsports publications announcing his news, it was a bit of a startling development.
Well, I wasn't going to say what it was. I was just speaking in generalities.
Yeah.
Calvin was tweaking him a little bit while he was up here too, trying to weasel out
trying to weasel out some information.
Yeah.
I've learned by now that if Dr. Don doesn't want to let go of something, he doesn't let go.
Yeah, I think it's all a matter of timing. So you know, if you want to get him back up here in the booth, chances are you
maybe we could get out of him now.
Yeah.
No thumb screws involved this time.
Well, he did say if the situation was right, we would see him again. But tell you what, it's great to see even the Panos Esperante out there, and his involvement, as you well know, because you've been there, is such an integral part of it, not only in this racetrack, but in the cars and all the other business entities that you mentioned. I'm sure that for a while there, every time something else came along, you kept going, you've got to be kidding me.
Brian, if you only knew.
Don, not something else. When you look at the history that you guys have created, and you really have to look at it that way, I think. You know, I helped create this. When you look at it, 100 races. And it's not, I mean, and we're not ending it on a little sprint race somewhere. It's the 100th event is Sebring.
You know, if you would have scripted it way back in the beginning and said, you know, how about if we write in that the 100th race occurs at Sebring with a world debut of the Audi R15, and let's bring Porsche over from Europe, and let's have Acura move up to P1, and let's have a GT2 battle that brings BMW back into the equation to add into Porsche and Ferrari. And tell you what, Don, we'll have your car competing for a podium finish. We couldn't have written it better if we'd tried.
Well, I'll tell you what, thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate you coming by. I know you probably need to go downstairs and check the hot dog vendors and make sure that they're doing everything. That's probably another hat that you wear.
I've got to repair the golf carts and then talk to the man at the porta potty.
We appreciate you coming by, that's for sure. Always great talking to you. Scott Atherton, once again, has brought so much life to so many of these things. Talk about 100 races. Let's look back. What about the first overall victory for one of the Porsche Spiders?
The green is out. We are underway.
Lucas Luhr certainly not backing off any. He wants to be right there. If there's any hiccup on this 7th car, he's going to be through in a flash.
Well, the quick left-hander onto the front straight, and Porsche and Penske 1-2 in class. And overall here in Mid-Ohio.
Tom Christensen still on point here at Sebring in his Audi R15. Mike Rockenfeller in the other brand new R15 right behind him. Then the Peugeot still giving chase. Sebastian Bourdais very quick on the racetrack. But that puncture that he had earlier, Dorsey, really took him out of sequence on the pit stops. And I think that has definitely hurt his chances. Pedro Lamy in the 07. Some 9 laps in arrears of the leaders right now. So Lamy will have a good finish, but he had those problems with the air conditioner early on.
You know, it's amazing you don't have more punctures. We talk about how dirty this racetrack gets over the course of a 12-hour race. You can actually see it a lot better at night. When these cars get real close to one another, the headlights of the rear car start to light up. All the dust, and they're right, like just right there. All the sand, all the debris that the car just picks up from the underneath of the tunnels and blows up in the air. I mean, there's so much junk out there. Punctures are amazing that they're as frequent, or as not as more frequent, I should say.
I think that's a testament to how good these race tires are constructed. Soft enough to provide grip, subtle enough to provide suspension movement, and yet tough enough to resist punctures from some of those very sharp pieces of metal, screws, and carbon fiber. We talked about Christensen leading overall, Adrian Fernandez leading the P2 class, Johnny O'Connell in GT1, but in GT2, it is the Ferrari, Pierre Caffer behind the wheel right now, the Risi Competizione Ferrari. Remember, this team so strong. They've won here before. They've won the GT2 championship. They won at Le Mans last year. And one of those very integral team members is standing by with Kelly.
It's Jamie Mello, and he has had one of the most trying times getting here to Sebring. First to get through customs, but also let's not forget that he broke his ankle back in November, his right ankle, and he's still been rehabilitating. I understand that you were experiencing some pain there in that last stint. How you doing now?
Yeah, I mean, it's still painful, especially my last 20 minutes. I start to have a leg cramp, but just 20 minutes. I said I can go to the end. And it has been a very, very difficult winter for me. I had this accident, and I had to do 3 surgery and recovering, and I'm still recovering. So I just need to say thank you. Thank you for Ferrari, for the Risi Competizione, because they have trust in me. And they gave me this opportunity one more time to be here at the last moment. So I just need to say thank you, and let's see the end of the race.
When you got here late, you missed the night practice, and they had a choice of penalties. They could either choose to keep you out of the car after dark or start from the back. They chose to start from the back because they said you're so great when it gets dark out. Why do you think that is?
I mean, it's one more time. It's something from the team, from Ferrari. They trust myself, and I just need to say one more time thank you. We start from the back was really difficult. Mika started the race, and he catch up really, really well. And that's it. We got a very good race car, and we just wait a few more hours to see what's going on.
And I'm sure Jamie would like to reclaim his 2007 championship he had with Mika Salo. He'll try to do it with Pierre Caffer this year.
1 hour and 56 minutes left to go, so I would expect one, maybe two more pit stops, probably two more pit stops for the number 62 Ricci Ferrari, and that would get them home. The question is, would Jamie Mello be back in the car? He was so good in 2007. I mean, we saw the highlights of that earlier. That was spectacular, Dorsey.
That will stand as one of the best finishes without question. I mean, it's going to be hard to top that.
Would you have done that?
Yes.
No, you wouldn't. You would have hit Jörg harder.
Well, no, I mean, you couldn't hit him harder without taking yourself out. I mean, they were doing all they could do, and they were both, laying it on the line, and that's what it's all about, coming right down to the line. Sure got us going, and like I said, that will stand in the record books for a long time as one of the classic battles right down to the end.
Well, and it was interesting. It was clean. It was very clean.
It was.
All the way to 17.
Well, you got to remember,
off
too,
of 17 and the checkered flag in sight, anything goes.
You got to remember, too, though, that the Ferrari had no brakes. It was completely out of brakes at the time. They both laid it on the line. I mean, it could have crashed them both out.
Well, wait a minute. Brakes don't get you into somebody at the exit of a corner.
Would me.
You're such still the race car driver because you got every excuse in the book.
Yeah, you have to. You have to plan your strategies.
There's your GT2 leader, trying to dodge the P1 traffic as one of the Audi R15s flashed by.
You were talking about whether or not they'll change drivers. Unless they need to, I wouldn't think so, because 2 hours in the car isn't that terrible to do. And the driver that's in is accustomed to the dark right now. His eyes are accustomed to what it's like. He's got the rhythm, where to turn in, how far the racetrack goes. You put a new guy in there, it takes him at least 3 or 4 laps to get acquainted with the racetrack, to get himself comfortable with the fact that now you're at night, you can't see anything. So if you could not put another driver in, I would opt for that.
Well, and Caffer certainly has experience. He won overall here with McNish and Biela in 2004 in an Audi, so I think he knows his way around.
Plus they have a 3-lap lead or a 2-lap lead, so I mean, I would err to the conservative side.
Be consistent. The first time in your life you've ever been conservative. Tom Christensen continues the lead overall. Pierre Caffer, that we just talked about, in the 62 in GT2. Now, as the global leader in green racing, the American Le Mans Series and its promoters have adopted and endorsed a variety of recycling and related programs. For more information, log on to AmericanLeMans.com or visit the website of your favorite series events. We'll be right back to Sebring International Raceway. We still have a great finish coming up. It's Audi, Peugeot. We still got a long way to go. Stick around. Flamingos in the night here at Sebring International Raceway. Actually, another flamingo, and I've been told, yes, indeed, another one. And you'll never guess what's next. Palm tree. Care to guess?
No.
Ice cream
cone?
What's next? You'll never guess. Santa Claus. I told you, if you want it, if you can think it, and that's Santa Claus with a lot of duct tape on him. It's here at Sebring, the 57th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. I got to tell you, Billy McCoy, our director, and Jim Roller, our producer, worked hard on that segment right there. You get a little slap happy when you've been in the truck for this long.
I'm glad we're on this side of the racetrack. Maybe not, though. I've been over on the other side. I've had some fun over there.
As we went to break, Tom Christensen had come to pit road while we were in break. Alan McNish took over that seat and is back on the race course. And got to believe, Chris, don't you think that Alan will stay in that car until the checkered flag?
Oh, yeah, I imagine he's going to finish it. You know, TK got to finish Le Mans last year and get the victory for both he Dindo Capello and Alan McNish. It looks like McNish, if he can keep that car out front, he's going to get the checker flag tonight. So these guys, very smooth pit stop. You know, the mechanics looking all over the car with flashlights, making sure that they didn't see anything that they didn't like, any filters or radiators or anything that was blocked out, but very routine, just tires, fuel, McNish behind the wheel, and they're down and away, just waiting for this clock to keep ticking by and hopefully get to that last minute.
We've also talked a lot about GT2, the fact the 62 car is leading, but when we look back to last year, it was the 45 that won the championship and this race overall. So we had Patrick Long bringing some stories today. Last segment, Justin had to fill in for Patrick. He wasn't available, but hey, we caught up with him. We got the story direct from Patrick Long. Let's find out what's going on.
Well, I'm just out of the car in what should be my last stint of the 12 hours of Sebring. We can taste a podium, but more importantly, I hear rumors that Justin might have had my microphone while I was out doing my job, and that guy scares me. You know, you give him the keys to anything and he's bound to wreck it. I'm not going to get any personal vendettas with him right now, but I'm going to wait and watch the tape and see if we can't continue this through the year. Excellent race. We want this podium. The two Ferraris did a great job today, but for us, we're going to win the comeback award if we can keep this on the rail.
I love it. I love it. Patrick Long, I mean, not only is a spectacular race car driver, he's a good kid. You see the one car flash by. He has been to pit road as well. And think about what he has done at 27 years old. He has won Petit Le Mans. He's won Le Mans. He's won here at Sebring. He's won the Rolex 24. I mean, think about what it's just an amazing career, and he's 27 years old.
Yeah, you know, and I asked him the other day if what he preferred to drive, whether it was the prototype car. Or he said, I've been a Porsche factory driver. Now, there's something right there in its own right for so long. That means he gets paid money to drive a race car, so he doesn't care. Good for him. You know, there's not a lot of those guys around, and you know, he's driven it all. He's won it all. I'm sure his aspirations would be further down the road, but I'd do the same thing he is.
He's driven for Roger Penske. That says a lot about him right there. Fluent in 4 languages. He's just a spectacular young man.
I know why they've got those LED lights on the back of that wing.
Okay, do tell.
So it blinds you if you get close to it. There's no doubt about that. It's probably got a high beam.
Second car in line. You could tell by the yellow headlights it was a GT car. In fact, a GT2. It is the 95 Ferrari running second in the GT2 class. Matthias Russo behind the wheel right now.
Great accounting from this team coming over here, running the Sebring for the first time. You know, they came here, nobody really knew much about them, and they showed themselves right off the top.
It's because they were incognito. They had a different team name than what we were used to hearing, Jamie.
That's right. Nobody may have heard of them before tonight, but they're certainly going to be talking about them for years to come. Antonio, coming over to America to run the 12 hours of Sebring, you said it's definitely a test for the 24 hours of Le Mans. What is it about Sebring that does that?
Yes, as you say, we are coming from Europe. It's our first experience here. And let me say, it's wonderful, amazing experience. For the moment, we are second in our category. What is important too, Ferrari are leading by the moment, keeping finger crossed. And but the experience is really, really nice. 12 hours, yes. We never did it before, any 12 hours, because we do only 24 hours at Le Mans and 24 hours Spa that belongs to FIA GT Championship that we usually do in Europe. And we won the championship for the last 3 years. But it's brilliant to be here in Sebring.
Now you mentioned that it is a Ferrari ahead of you in GT. That Ferrari is Raceway, and they gave you a tremendous amount of support when you decided to run this race. Talk a little bit about that. How did that team help you?
Yeah, of course I have to thank Mr. Giuseppe Risi, as well Dave Sims, because they helped me a lot. He gave me a lot of support, especially on the logistic things, trying to find, to arrange and trying to manage everything in the proper way. And so thank you very much to Risi. That a part of challenging is, first of all, a good friend.
And this Ferrari team is going to continue their final 2 hours of their first Sebring, but down at the other end of pit lane is Tom Christensen, who is no stranger to this event.
Yeah, and Tom's wiping some sweat off his brow. Had a chance to talk to the engineers. Tom, when we talk about this race and what Peugeot needs to do to beat Audi, it's always about mistakes, whether it's race strategy or what the drivers are doing. Today, once again, we've seen mistakes by the drivers. Are you at all surprised that they're still having those problems?
I was in the car. I don't know. I haven't seen what's going on. I'm driving in the car. I'm focusing on that. We have a very tough competitor, Peugeot. We have a great respect, and they're really trading in some very fast lap times, which pushes us to the limit. I can only say right now out there, it's absolutely hilarious. Look at the lap times we do. There's so much light next to the track, but we don't see the actual circuit. It's very, very tough, and it's extremely dangerous. There are some cars which the drivers take some time to get used to it. For me, myself, I mean, I feel a little bit like I've been driving around all day waiting for the dark to come, and now the car is really in a sweet spot. But if it's enough, we will it will go down the wire, and I hope I pull the car to the front, so the Highlander, he will pull it even more, and we can win this one.
Now, a couple months ago, a movie was released called Truth in 24, the documentary about all the success Audi has had at Le Mans. Great movie. However, there's a very interesting song in that movie, and you and I spoke about that earlier today, and you said if you win today, you're going to sing that song for me.
I said, if we might win this one, it will be something, and then I will sing it, and not before. And the race is not even started.
Okay, one other thing about the movie. You kept seeming to be getting lost in that movie. Where were you when the team was always looking for you?
Don't make fun now, you know. I mean, it was some, you know, somebody has to be a little bit calm in that, and sometimes I was maybe a little bit too calm, a little bit too slow to be there. But anyway, any movie need a clown, right?
Well, you guys are looking great tonight. Great way to introduce the R15 if they can get that victory here. And guys, that movie, I had a chance to watch it last night. It was fantastic.
It was great. And you know, it's interesting. On both Alan McNish and Tom Christensen, I've seen him do interviews when they've gotten out of the car. McNish was just beaming earlier. And the thing that was interesting, he was in second place when he got out of the car. He was beaming because they had legitimate competition that they could race with. And he loved the racing.
And that's what he said. This is racing. And that gets your adrenaline pumping, and that makes you smile.
This is indeed racing, and it is the 100th race for the American Le Mans Series. We look back throughout the races, and what about street circuits? Yeah, we've been there too, and we've been to some famous ones. How about the Long Beach Grand Prix?
Long Beach, California, what a location to host a motor race. It's a spread out field. They're gone. But look at this. Pirro on Franchitti and gets him. It's celebration for the DHL Penske's. Romain Dumas and Timo Bernard take the win at Long Beach.
Sebastian Bourdais in the Peugeot, the 08, back on point here at Sebring. And really, for most of the day, it has been a Peugeot and Audi battle. The brand new R15 on debut. Can it do what so many of the other Audi sports cars have done, and that is win on debut here at Sebring? The Audi R8 did that. The Audi R10 did as well. What about the R15? Speaking of 15, let's move back to the number 15 car. That is the Lowe's Fernandez entry in P2, the Acura. Look at the lights inside the cockpit. Lights on the steering wheel, lights on the dashboard. It looks like, literally, it looks like an airplane cockpit. And these cars so sophisticated now, Dorsey, I think you almost have to be a pilot in order to operate one.
Well, the systems on here are equal to any airplane, let me tell you that. There's a lot of things going on there that you have to be aware of. You know, for that Audi to win on its first time out, let me just say this. This is the most competition they've ever had. You know, in the past, there's always been one other marque maybe that might be on the same plane as Audi, but this particular year, there's 5 cars that are all, you know, so close. 5 cars in qualifying, 0.3 of a second. Of course, we've documented the problems that the Acura boys have had, but that being said, I mean, this is going to be a hard-won battle by whoever does win it.
And that makes it that much more special. We were talking about it before we went to break about McNish and Christensen both relishing the fact, I think, that they've been able to race the Peugeots. And right now, as you ride on board or stay on board with the 15, Adrian Fernandez behind the wheel right now of this Acura P2 car, he's probably a little disappointed. I know he likes to race as well. It would have been nice to see the Dyson cars have a little bit better day with their brand new Lola Mazdas, but you know, that has fallen by the wayside. These guys, you like the trophy and you like to go in the record books, but you like to earn it. What you want to do is earn it. You want to fight, and that's exactly what we've heard and seen from both Tom Christensen and Alan McNish. And they've all said, you know, you have to pay attention to the lap time. They said we are driving out there at a level better than qualifying. There's no question about it. 144.50 for Sebastian last time. 44.30 for McNish that lap. McNish, by the way, is cutting into that lead pretty significantly. Fastest race lap, 43.90 is a new track record. He's got to get after that last lap. He actually was balked a little bit by traffic and lost some time. The last lap or so, he's lost a few seconds, and so he's dropped back a little bit. He had some good times going, but it seems to ebb and flow in traffic around here, Dorsey. And it does, particularly at night. You know, you're going to catch these guys, particularly if you catch more than one. A pack of GT2 cars, for instance, are doing battle with each other, gives you no option and nowhere to go, even though you're that much quicker. Corvette is in, the number 3. Leading the field, Johnny O'Connell. We talk a lot about Tom Christensen going for records. We talked about it with Johnny O'Connell as well. Could he have 8 victories here at Sebring? He already has more than anybody else. Antonio Garcia, brand new with the Corvette racing program, climbed behind the wheel for his stint. Garcia, a very talented driver as well. He too took part in the overall victory at the Rolex 24. And Chris, you're down at Corvette.
Yeah, talk about a great year for Antonio Garcia. In less than 12 months, he won Le Mans last year, won the Rolex 24 this winter, and if he can keep this car up front tonight, he's going to grab the 12 hours of Sebring in about a 9-month span of time. I think I'm going to ask him later tonight if he's looking to go to Vegas tomorrow.
Yeah, see if he'll buy a lottery ticket for you. I understand that the 9 car has gone behind the wall, has had a problem.
Look how fluid the Corvette team is when they do that pit stop. I mean, without question, we bragged a little bit on, you know, how the Peugeot guys have stepped up their game and so forth, but nobody, in my estimation, is as good, anywhere close to as good as Team Corvette, and these pit stops happen. When you talk about stepping up your game, though, just look back in GT2 and right there, the number 40 car. Once again, Jim Roller helping me out, telling me what's coming because it is so dark here. Hard to see, but Andrea Robertson right now behind the wheel of that Doran Ford GT, and this team has really come a long way, and there's been a guy down there in pit lane who has helped not only this team develop the car, but has also helped develop 2 of the drivers.
That's right, and that is David Murray. David, you've been such a big part of putting this program together over the last couple of years, both with David, with Andrea, and with the car in general. How rewarding is it to be in the late stages of the 12 hours of Sebring and still be running so well?
It's pretty rewarding because, you know, you think it's not just a driver plug-in. It have been involved in quite a bit of it. Lee Penn came over and finished engineering, but we've started this car last year this time and started working so hard at it all year long. We were almost 5 seconds off the pole last year, and this year to be 1.3 off the pole. You know, and we still have more we want to do to the car. So it's pretty rewarding, and it's nice to be able to actually run with some of the leaders now and not just move over and let them go by. So it's been a long, hard road. We ran real well earlier in the race, and then we got caught in a few incidents that put us back. We had some aero understeer, and then we got hit from behind, so it towed the rear out, so it kind of makes the car balanced, but not very fast. So it's not horribly slow, but it's just inhibiting us a little bit.
You have been a part of the American Le Mans Series since it started. What does it mean to you to be racing in the 100th race back at Sebring?
Must mean I'm pretty old, I guess. It's pretty special, you know, to see this thing evolve from where it started when I was it when it started to where it's come today. It was competitive then, but every year it's gotten more and more intense, and it's more rewarding when you can actually run in front. You know, we qualified 5th, and normally you'd think, oh, 5th place, big deal. But in this field, it's a huge reward because that means I mean, how many Formula 1 drivers are here? So that kind of says the quality of the drivers that are here. And it's just to be able to develop a car over the year and a half and see the results of it. In practices, we were running, we weren't really sure where we were at because first part we were early, we were up there, and then later on during the session we were further back. So qualifying showed up and the race showed us where we really were.
David Murray and Robertson Racing extremely enjoying the results here in the final stages of Sebring, guys.
And David Murray, I think, really one of the drivers who doesn't get the credit that he should. The leader is on pit road.
Sebastian Bourdais coming out of the car. Frank Montagny gonna take this car to the finish line here today. We've got about an hour and a half left in this race, so we're gonna have one more pit stop after this one. But it looks like it's just going to be a routine stop on the 8 car. That hydraulic problem they had before the green flag came down, nothing more has happened with the car. So other than having to start from the back of the pack, this car has been mechanically sound all day. However, we have seen those mistakes by the drivers, the spins in this car. Now, just while this car's sitting here on pit lane, McNish just whistled down the front straightaway. So this car still having to make up quite a bit of time with just an hour and a half left.
Well, that lap right before he pulled in, I'm sure they told him, make this a good lap. You're pitting next lap. He made it a good lap. New track record again. 1:43.274 is the fastest we've ever seen one of these cars lap this racetrack.
It was just simply magic. That's the only way you can describe it. And now it's really going to come down to how many more stops do you have to make? Where's that position going to be after that last round of pit stops? As we said, McNish is flashed by in that brand new Audi R15 and taken back over the point. And this is what we've seen all day long. Give and take, back and forth between Audi and Peugeot. They're those cold tires, Dorsey.
Cold tires, and it's nighttime. Be very careful right now. It's slippery.
A lot of debris on the racetrack. This is the treacherous time, and right now, Peugeot, the Lion, trying to pounce and climb its way back up to the front. Montagny, and he's off.
The road. No crash. He was good there, but he took a little jerk through the radiators with that one. That's cold tires, exactly what we're talking about.
And we saw problems with the radiators at Le Mans, the way they're designed, the inlets. Things can get in, but they can't get out. And that dirt and that sand can be a big problem. It's another look.
And it's where the car has no downforce whatsoever, the hairpin. You got the car slowed down to somewhere around 40 miles per hour. No grip. He plows off right there, gets in the dirt, and now he's on the outside. But watch it dig in here, boom, and again there. It fills the radiators with that dirt. Hopefully it can cycle through. But like you said, Brian, this car's had trouble there before.
So many times over the past year, we've watched this team fight, claw their way to the front, only to throw it away. We saw the race slip through their hands at Petit Le Mans in 2008. We saw it slip away literally in the rain at Le Mans in 2008. What will it do here? We'll find out when we come back. Just about an hour and a half left of the 57th running of the 12 Hours of Sebring. Stick around. There's a look at your 4 liters.
Back at Sebring, Lee Diffie along with Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Jamie Howe and Chris Neville with you right now. We're going to take you all the way through to the checkered flag and beyond with some post-race coverage. So who do you like? Is it Peugeot? Is it Audi? Where do your allegiances lie? And who do you think has the best package to get it done right now? We're going to follow that storyline. We're going to talk a lot more about it. But first of all, let's hear from a man who was in the hot seat not that long ago.
Well, Sebastian Bourdais just laid down the fastest lap of the race, 2 seconds faster than the pole qualifying time. Sebastian, great drive out there. You have had a chance now to compete against the Audi R15 for almost 11 hours. What's the take on that car, and how are you guys going to beat it in June?
Well, when the track is in good shape and rubber's in, we're really a step higher. But as soon as the track starts to be a bit green, some guys bring some dirt, then we're struggling. So most of the afternoon we could only keep up the pace with them, and then as soon as we could switch to the night tires, then we're looking a lot better, and the car is working properly now.
It seemed like the Peugeot had definitely a lot of speed over the R10, but now they've really closed that gap on speed. What do you think the team's going to need to do over the next couple months?
Nothing we can do. You know, we're working really hard, and the team is doing the best they can, but obviously the regulation change went towards building smaller engines, and we didn't have the time for this. So, you know, we've got what we've got. The car's quick, and I think we can still win this thing, but it's going to be a fight until the end.
If Audi doesn't stumble from here to the checkered flag, how are you guys going to win it?
I think we can still catch them.
Well, he's confident, guys.
Well, he's confident, and I'm trying to do the math here. I think that for certain the 08 car can do this race to the checkered flag on one more stop, barring any under cautions or coming out, some stuff like that. But I think for McNish, they're going to struggle to do it on just one more stop. I think they're going to need a splash. It looks like they're going to be about 10 minutes shy of just doing this race on one more stop if we stay green. So that could be the determining factor. McNish had about a 40-second lead over the 08 of Montani on the last lap. So we have to work out how long it takes to come down pit lane, then put a splash of fuel in, and then, of course, do they take tires on their next stop?
Things are heating up. Doors 2 in GT2. Take a look at this. The Flying Lizard Porsche has caught the Panos.
And they're right there, and of course, that's one of the prototype cars flashing by. This has been going on now for just a little while. I mean, the two cars are running equal pace. The Porsche trying to get by that Panos. And he's been doing that for, you know, 2 or 3 laps. It's been like that. This is the closest they've been, however.
This is for the final step on the GT2 podium.
Mark Lieb won this race last year with Jörg Bergmeister and Wolf Hensler. He's a regular with this team.
And Ian James, of course, in the Panos, the black car that's in front, not by much.
It's a great story, and the Yokohama tire, Dorsey, really seems to come into its own in the cooler conditions as we're seeing as nighttime has fell.
Well, Cal, I just checked in with Audi on some of the things you were wondering about. It's going to take 14 seconds to get down pit lane. So as you're working things out with your calculator up there, you can punch that in. Now, the team would not say that it's going to be one full stop and then a splash, but they kind of looked at me like, yeah, you guys have figured it out, and that's probably what we're going to need. The big question is Alan McNish going to go out on hot tires or cold tires? Because it definitely takes that car a little bit of time to get up to speed. Even though they haven't been double stinting, I have a feeling that if it comes down to it, they're going to have to.
I think they're playing the caution game. They would like to see a caution somewhere in here so they don't have to make that decision that you're talking about, Chris, because you would say not to take tires, but how's it going to run down a faster Peugeot without them?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we may see on the next scheduled stop, they may take tires and then on that splash certainly keep them on. You wouldn't be doing a fresh set of tires with 10 minutes to go, which is how the math seems to be working out. So it's going to be fascinating. Bourdais certainly feels that with the softer compound Michelins on that Peugeot, they have the speed to be outpacing the Audi, but maybe Audi has a card up their sleeve as well, Dorsey, in terms of tires.
You know, looking at McNish, we know he's the Terrier. He's run a 45.30 that lap. Montani, the same 45.30. So right now the two cars are at equal pace.
How would you like to be Ian James in this GT2 battle with Mark Lieb all over him? Great to have Mark back. He has kept his status as a Porsche factory driver. He is now solely focused on racing after graduating.
Switch to map 2 if you need to. Switch to map 2.
After graduating from the University of Essling near Stuttgart, he is now a qualified mechanical engineer, and he's having input on the team with the car, and he is very excited about that. He said, but my studies are out of the way. I graduated in February. A little bit of smoke from the Panos.
This lockup is all it was. It was tire lockup.
Just remember, guys, that this is a 5-year-old car, as Tom Milner told us earlier in the show. This car is trying to sort out the best from across the pond from Porsche, so it's very impressive that this Panos Esperante is still holding on and being able to go into battle tonight.
Ian is just doing a tremendous job behind the wheel by withstanding this pressure. He and Dominic Farnbacher have really carried the load here, just a 2-driver lineup, and it's unbelievable. And here we see the 45 car reminiscent of a couple of years ago and is coming down to the wire in the thick of the action.
It's not good when you can feel the heat from the headlights of the guy that's trying to chase you down. It's right on your back of your neck.
That's testament too to the two guys from Team PTG, Ian James and Dominic Farnbacher. It's a two-man team at the moment, okay, against the 45, which has 3 very, very accomplished drivers in it to share that workload. So the boys for Tom Milner have been working overtime today. 1 hour, 19.5 minutes left in this race. We've only had 3 caution periods. The reduced field size has aided that, that's for sure.
We're on a record pace if they can keep this up, if we don't have any kind of incident. You know, they might just, in fact, break the distance record set here. Long time back, by the way.
Incidentally, in GT2, in first and second, it has not changed. Still Pierre Caffa for Risi, and then Jimmy Bruni in the Picon racing car in second. So it's Ferrari, then the Panos. And there's a little graphic support there just to let you know the record for distance is 1,394.5 miles. We'll see how far we can go. Can we eclipse the 1,400-mile mark? Pace has been blistering. Pace has certainly been fast enough.
Oh, it's been unbelievable.
Hey, Limey, you're doing a great job. We love you, Limey.
Watch this now. You got one of the Peugeots about to lap by these guys. There he is. Splits them right here.
Ooh.
One of the Ferraris spawned.
Ferrari is this?
Can't tell yet. Bet it's red.
It's coming on the back straightaway off of turn 16. There we see the Varnage off to the left side. It's been sitting there, the Drayson car, for a few hours now. Out of harm's way, it would appear.
Looks like smoke coming out from the Ferrari. Might have a tire down. I'm not sure. I'll see if it pits. And that's the lead. That's the third place battle we've been watching.
So the Corvette has squeezed in between, and it's put some distance between Ian James and Mark Lieb, and the call came over from the radio from Tom Milner. We love you, Limey. We love you. Keep going. He's talking to Ian James, of course, not Calvin. I want to remind you about real-time scoring, live radio streaming, video and photo galleries, a fan-dedicated special paddock pass section, all featured offerings on the all-new AmericanLeMans.com. You're watching Sebring, you're watching Speed, sports cars on speed, and we're live right through to the finish. Formula One is back on speed next Saturday. Now take note of the special time, Saturday at 1:30 a.m. Eastern. Yes, you've got to be keen, but I know that there are many of you who are. The Australian Grand Prix live coverage here on Speed. Hamilton back on track. What will Massa have? How about Kimi? Will it be a reinvigorated Kimi Raikkonen? And how about Sebastian Vettel? So much to talk about, so much to see. And one of the drivers who is on track here this weekend just stepped from the car. We just heard from him. Sebastian Bourdais is making his way down tomorrow.
Look at this battle intensifying here. Mark Lieb really putting the pressure on Ian James, but Ian is doing a tremendous job. He's really in the rhythm of this race car, and he's just really holding him off. The Panos is really performing very, very well, does. He's got good straightaway speed, seems to be good under the brakes.
Gets out of the corner pretty good. You know, Mark had a fender inside of him there for just a moment, and then when he couldn't make the pass, he went ahead and gave him the old high beams. Oh, there's a brake line up. That's going to hurt him.
Yeah,
he shut the door, though, pretty well.
You really sort of like load the right side of the car there, which unweights the inside, the left side. It's very easy to lock up a brake there. Ian was just trying to carry a little bit more rolling speed through the corner.
I liked what he did, though, when he locked up once he realized that he released the brake and shut the door so it wasn't open.
Yep.
He said, I made a mistake, but you're not getting by there. Got to be impressed with the performance on the Panos. Now, that's a full-on factory car behind him from Porsche, brand new.
Both boys have won their respective classes here before. Ian James won the LMP2 class several years ago, back in '05, and Mark Lieb won last year.
Ooh, now the Audi gets by them both. No change there.
You see the Audi try to clean off his tires. That's how important it is when you run offline like that. The drivers recognize it's really easy to make a mistake. You saw that big weave by the Audi there, Dorsey. He's just cleaning up the tires.
Yeah, he had to go out in the dirty area to get by those two cars, and he was smart enough to know to do that before he got to the next corner where the car wouldn't have turned probably.
On the long back straightaway. Can Ian James hold off Mark Lieb? He looks to the inside. Just trying to distract him there, but Ian's seen this before. Can he hold him off once again? Yes, he does.
You know what? They're pretty equal. You know, the one's not. I was thinking the Panos.
Here comes Mark Lieb. He's really forcing the issue there. They're going to trade some paint.
This has been going on. Oh, no!
That took the Lizard car into the wall hard on the front end. Definite contact there. And you had to know it was coming.
What was that?
There was really nowhere that those two cars could be that far on the outside.
Yeah, we're done, buddy. We're done. Try to bring it around if you can. I was already past him.
No, not quite.
Mark Lieb said, what was that?
Wow. I mean, you got to think about the debris out here that he may be spreading. I mean, and you have to think about the overall leader suddenly thinking about the possibility of a full-course caution here. But Mark Lieb, Ian James side by side off that final corner. Mark had made a very good move, but neither one had completely finished the corner, Dorsey, as they're coming on the straightaway.
And Calvin, you're out there on the very outside of that corner. It's very dirty there for two cars. For one car, you might have been able to get away with that. With two cars over there, though, the inside cars got nowhere to go.
And Ian probably thought he was going to get squeezed towards the wall.
I'm
so
sure
he
he
didn't want
did,
to get shoved in the wall. And then he ended up getting into the right rear corner, excuse me, left rear corner of the 45 and turned him straight into the fence.
Now,
check this out from above.
Yeah, you'll see it better here. Watch. Looking down on it, you get a better perspective.
Down into the brake zone, and then Mark Lee really carries a lot of speed right through the apex there. He gets on the power earlier.
So now they're going toward the outside in the dirty area here.
And Ian had to come across. The wall jinks over there. Ian can't keep that line. He's got to come over back over to the right. And you'd really, I mean, it's a racing incident, but Mark didn't realize that he needed to continue to move
that
to the
wall
right.
turns in. You're right over there. It cuts back in, and Ian had nowhere to go.
Right, he was going to hit the fence if he didn't turn into him.
So we got a complete flat left rear. He's going to have to deal all the way around with.
How's the front end? How's the steering?
And this hurts to see a brand new 2009 Porsche 911 RSR in this kind of shape. We're going to show you a different angle.
The thing to concentrate on is look at the wall off to the driver's left, and it comes back in. Right now it's wide. You don't see it really very well there, but.
All right, let's go back to the high view.
Now watch the, yeah, it's going to be right under this bridge.
Right there. See how the wall comes in?
Yeah. And of course, Ian moved over to avoid the wall, clipped Mark Lieb, turned him nose into the wall. Neither one of them are going to agree about this deal.
Now, is there debris on the exit of 17 coming onto the front straight? Where that collision occurred, is the track clear?
Well, it's dragging pieces all over, like you said, Calvin, for sure.
There is. We're going to try and take another look at this and really try and highlight, Dorsey, where that wall comes back. It's right at the bridge.
Yeah, it's
so
here.
They come. Right here they come.
It's right there. You see it as it comes in. And watch. So
they come. Ian's got nowhere to go. He's now turning to the right. Otherwise, he's going to hit the fence. And that gets into the left quarter panel of Mark Lieb and turns him perpendicular into the wall.
And this is Mark Lieb limping back to the pits in his Flying Lizard and rapidly disintegrating Flying Lizard Porsche.
There goes the carcass of the tire.
I'm sure from Mark's perspective, he just felt that he was clear of Ian. He'd got alongside him. He's in a straight line, and then suddenly someone turns him into the wall.
Yeah.
These guys are the defending race winners, defending series champions in this class. They're not about to give up. Tommy Sadler and his men will assess this car and see if they can do anything to get it back out and keep going and try and keep somewhat of a position to get as many points as they can. That's what endurance sports car racing is all about.
They'll be looking at the fact there's a lot of GT2 cars still out there running. It will take points away from them if they can't get the car back out there, but there's only an hour and 7 minutes left. A lot of damage, Chris.
Oh, lots of damage, Cal, and you got to feel for these guys because they were obviously one of the first teams that had problems earlier today when Bergmeister was behind the wheel and had a little bit of contact with David Murray. They had to replace that left rear toe link back on, once again, this left rear corner that's got significant damage back here. Both the front of the car, the left rear of the car. You know, it's going to just obviously take a little bit of time here for these guys to assess whether any of that damage is deeper into the suspension. It looks like they're just going to try and get some new tires on the car and get Jorg out there. So, yeah, they're going to send him. You know, when the car did hit the ground, you know, none of the wheels reacted.
The refueling nozzle is damaged, I think, possibly, Chris.
The hood's bent and you couldn't get it in.
The hood is bent, so they can't get the refueling nozzle all the way in, so they're going to try and get the hood up, but it is just all tweaked and bent, so, you know, they can't even get the pins to release.
While that repair goes on, we're going to show you one more angle of this incident between Ian James and Mark Lieb. James on the right, Lieb on your left.
And here, right here in this area, is where the wall jinks back over, forcing Ian to move to the right, but unfortunately, Mark Lieb was there. They touched. and that could have been a much bigger wreck, to be honest, Frank.
So the Flying Lizard boys go to work. They're still working at trying to get that fuel nozzle in there and get it back over and get it all online. We need to squeeze in a quick break here. Embracing the American Le Mans Series 100th race. How about Lime Rock last year? It was special. Yeah, the call is green, green, green.
Can the Audis get a jump here?
It's down to 3.5 seconds now. His lead with 10 minutes, 50 seconds to run. Now down to 1.9 seconds. Here comes Brabham. Timo Bernard spins at turn 1, and Brabham is the new race leader. Pole position and a victory. Duncan Dayton. I mentioned a few moments ago that the distance record in the 12 hours of Sebring is 1,394 miles. That was set by Aiken, Stuck and Gardner back in 1986 on the lengthier circuit, the 4.86-mile circuit here at Sebring. The current American Le Mans Series distance record set on this 3.7-mile circuit is 1,369 miles. The pace that Alan McNish is setting is well on target to eclipse both of those records. We're at working lap 349 right now, and this is the first lap, the last one around, Cal, that McNish has been in the 145s. He's been in the 144s lap after lap after lap.
Well, he's really stretched out by another 20 seconds over Frank. He's now a minute plus to the good, and I think this really puts Audi in great shape, because here he comes. Alan McNish hitting pit lane. So he did about 47 minutes, and there's about an hour and minute left in this race, so he's about 14 minutes shy, so he'll need to do this one. And then with about 14 minutes to go, if we stay green, he'll need a splash of fuel. But he has a minute to the good. Remember, Montagny will also hit pit lane 2. And they're sticking with their same strategy. I see tires going on for this one, and on that final splash stop, they'll probably keep the heated tires on, as Chris said before. Chris?
Cal, I think you're right here. It's just going to be fuel. McNish taking a little drink of water in the car. They're going to finish filling this car up, make sure they get all the fuel in that fuel cell, then 4 fresh Michelins, and if they have to do that splash, I would imagine at that point in time they wouldn't do tires. Everything looking very routine right now. Didn't really check over the car too much, didn't see them look at the radiators or any of the brake ducting or anything like that, just fuel and tires.
Montagny takes the lead as McNish is being released from his pit box. So we know that he's going to need to come in one more time for another splash. And Montagny now, the pressure turns back on to the Frenchman. No mistakes. He too has to keep up a cracking lap pace.
And for Alan McNish, how quickly can he get these cars' tires up to temperature so he can run at 100%? That's an important factor right now.
Outside of this battle, the biggest talking point has been what went on in GT2. Let's hear Ian James' side of the story.
Ian, that was quite a battle right on the front stretch. We all got to see it from pit lane. Tell us what happened from your seat.
Well, first of all, I have to wish my son Ethan happy birthday and thank my daughter for this lucky charm she gave me. But yeah, I had a great battle going there with the Lizard car, and he got me on the inside of the corner, but I was still halfway around the outside, and I was going to get him back into one, and I don't know if he didn't see me or he chose to squeeze me to the wall, but he came off worse in that incident.
Now, Tom Milner said earlier he doesn't like drivers, but I saw a big smile on his face because he does enjoy good racing. How rewarding is it to be a part of this program? It's such a historical event.
You know, obviously this 100th anniversary of this race, and I'm driving for Panos, you know, so it's a big honor, and it's great to be back with Tom. And yeah, he was goading me on the radio, and I can't tell you everything he was saying, but he was definitely pushing me all the way.
We wish you the best of luck for the final hours of the race.
Thank you.
For those of you joining us late, the point that Ian was making, it's not the 100th anniversary of Sebring, but we're celebrating the American Le Mans Series 100th race.
Well, he did a great job out there, and you can see the glint in his eye. It'd be a tremendous result, Dorsey, if they can hold on to that podium finish for Don Panos and Tom Milner, of course. But long way to go yet, another outer run.
This would really pump up Milner's PTG group, because I tell you what, they've worked really hard at this car. It's the oldest car in the GT2 field for sure. They did a lot of work last year, Calvin, as you know, a lot of all new body work, aerodynamic work, cleaning up a car that was pretty old and making it into a car that we're looking at today, a car that's very capable.
The attrition rate has been high today, just like it is every year here at Sebring. When we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to tell you the exact margin between Montagny and McNish. We are less than an hour from the end of the 57th Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. It's been an interesting day, to say the least, and there is 22 seconds separating Frenchman Frank Montagny and Alan McNish for Audi, first and second in the race. The second Audi Sport R15 is on the same lap, and then we get back to the second Peugeot. Best P2 car is Adrian Fernandez. Best GT1 car is Antonio Garcia for Corvette, and the best GT2 is the Risi Competizione Ferrari of Mika Salo. That remains the same. And it's all eyes, all attention right here in Sebring now for these closing 53 minutes is on that lead margin.
Well, the key is going to be when Frank pits, for sure McNish will then assume the lead. What the Audi squad then have to consider is the fact they have to be careful that they don't have a caution come out, closes the pits with them still needing fuel, because that would mean that their margin would then be eroded. So even though they could probably go to about 14 minutes left in this race, they may choose to make that splash earlier on so they don't get caught out with that pace car.
That would be a very wise decision, because it can happen. I mean, a pace car is going to change this whole strategy. This Peugeot is going to pit one time for fuel.
Right.
The Audi, without a caution, is going to have to make a splash after they take their next fuel load.
So they'll wait for the Peugeot to pit, and then they'll work out their strategy from that point. I mean, if the caution was long enough, they wouldn't need the splash, but if it's a quick caution, it could really hurt them. Board with McNish. I tell you, that stint he did, the opening stint of this final segment, was just sensational. To gain 20 seconds on one of the best in the business, Frank Montagny, is just sensational. That's almost a second a lap that he was gaining on the Frenchman.
Think about how challenging it is when you drive on the freeway at night, or when you're maybe out back away from a built-up area. How difficult it is, how much you must focus. Let's do a lap around Sebring with Alan McNish. And keep in mind, his highest speed on this circuit is in the vicinity of 180 miles per hour. Enjoy. There has been a new lap record established tonight. That lap you just did with Alan McNish is better than the previous lap record. Good thing he knows where he's going, huh?
It's unbelievable because the engine is so quiet, Dorsey. You think he's about to spin every corner because you hear so much tire noise, which is normally drowned out by the engine.
Yeah, and that's a normal amount of tire noise. A little bit of understeer as he turns in. I'll tell you what, the headlights on this car are quite remarkable. You really can see a lot better than what I can remember when we used to drive, Cal. I mean, it's really dark here at Sebring.
Hey, Dors, guess what Cal remembered today?
What's that?
That you shared a car together here.
We did share a car together here. Yeah, we did.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Wasn't very memorable.
Like 91. I don't think it was very memorable.
We finished third in class.
It one of Jack Roush's cars.
No, this was with Gentilozzi.
Oh, that's right. It was that black. I ran into Tommy Kendall with that.
Yeah.
Remember?
You ran into several people with that.
No, I did not. I just hit Kendall. But remember, it broke the exhaust system, and we were eating exhaust fumes all day. My fault. It wasn't very memorable. I tend to agree.
Gap is down to 21.2 seconds. Montagny to McNish. Lucas Luhr is maintaining third, and Pedro Lamy. Both teams have so much to take away. So too do the Acuras. I know that many of you will be turning on late if you haven't caught up with it or you haven't checked the internet. We still have the number 9 Patron Highcroft Acura, one of the 2 that have stepped up to the P1 class. Well, it is now actually being displayed as retired with a drivetrain problem. So David Brabham and his teammates, Dario Franchitti, Scott Sharp, they're sliding down the order in terms of overall positions. They're down in 11th overall now. So both of those LMP1 Acuras now retired. DeFerrin Motorsports, the XM Acura, went out a little earlier as well. They had several problems, but it was a good first hit out, and they'll take a lot away with it heading on to the next round of the ALMS.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fascinating battle between those two teams representing the Acura brand. There you see the number 3 Corvette. That should be their final pit stop of the day. Maybe Johnny O'Connell can extend that incredible record he has here at Sebring, going for 8 victories here at the 12-hour.
We need to squeeze in another break, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. We take a couple of quick commercial breaks now so we can have some longer time to watch this exciting finish. And I need to tell you about the Michelin Green X Challenge. Efficiency and environmental impact coupled with world-class endurance racing provides the perfect competitive platform. That's exactly what the Michelin Green X Challenge is about, a race within a race. And it's going to be at all 10 ALMS events this season, and you can follow it. It's all about alternative fuels and other green technologies. AmericanLeMans.com is the place to follow it. Who's going to do it? Audi or Peugeot? Place your bets. Back in time just to see the 08 Peugeot 908 leaving its pit box. Justin and Chris were standing by. What did you see, boys?
Well, I have to say that it was an example of efficiency. They came in for the minimum amount of time they could, and they're actually little clapping hands inside here. Not, I think, with anticipation of victory necessarily, but the fact that every time the car comes into the pits, as you know, it's at its most vulnerable with all the heat and all the stuff that goes on. So that was a pretty efficient stop.
Tire change, which is a little bit different to what they've been doing. So they might have some super stickies on their doors.
Yeah, I think they probably went as soft as they can get away. We've got 43 minutes to go. He can make it for sure on fuel. Now we got to watch out for a caution because the Audi's out there needing one more time. McNish has gone by, obviously, into the lead, as they have every time.
Audi could bring Allen in at any point. They could roll the dice a lot further and just literally almost run him out of gas, then put the splash of fuel in, but they could take it any time with the margin they have.
Back on board with McNish. And he is in the zone. There is no one better to hand the car to get the job done than Alan McNish.
They play it safe if they bring him in early, like you said, Calvin, because if the caution were to come out and they were near the end of their fuel, they could get trapped with the pit closed and run out of fuel on the racetrack, which you don't want to do that either.
Well, that's the deal. I mean, once you get a caution, pit lane is closed, and then essentially everyone stacks up. What that could then do is put Frank right on the tail of Allen, and then if Allen has to come down pit lane, suddenly he's leapfrogged around him. So they know all this game, though. They'll have it worked out for sure.
36.5 seconds is the margin. McNish to Montagny. He's just crossed the line. That's what we're playing with right now. And are we going to watch that build? Will Montagny start to reel McNish in? McNish has to build that to the largest possible amount that he can.
And as Montagny got very soft tires on, we'll know that very shortly, because once they get up to temperature, he should be putting on some blistering lap speed.
Well, guys, I'm doing the best I can down here to get any information out of Audi, what their plan's going to be, if they're coming to pit lane, how much fuel they're planning to put in the car. One thing I do know is it sounds like they're going to have to come. Now, I asked Brad, how long is he going to be here? How long is that splash going to be? And he kind of looked at me and, you know, felt like he wanted to tell me, but he wasn't willing to. I said, is it less than 5 seconds? He said, no, it's going to be more than that. So let's anticipate more than 5 seconds, plus the 14 seconds down pit lane, then back up to speed. So we're at least looking at Alan McNish, if he came to pit lane right now, having to give up at least 20, 25 seconds of that lead.
I think he needs about a third of a tank of fuel. So if it's about 30 seconds, it would be about 10 seconds of fuel to get him topped up to the point he could make it. That's what my best guess is. But they have a lot more accurate than my information in my scribble here on the paper, Doris.
Remember we said a few moments ago there's no one better. Off goes Montagny. He did that a little earlier, didn't he? He's getting up to speed. This is his second flying lap, and he does not need to do that.
Now that could cause a puncture that would ruin his whole entire day if it were, in fact, to do happen. He's trying really hard, though. I saw that, Calvin. I see it from the brake rotors, too, that he's really, really trying to lay down a lap here, which he's going to have to do. He's going to have to run down that deficit.
They have to keep the pressure on. I mean, they're really in a position now that they need Audi to make a slip up here, because they have the advantage out front with Alan McNish.
Let's turn back time. Let's take you back to Petit Le Mans last year, the second last round of the season, where again we witnessed the Audi versus Peugeot fight. However, remember Alan McNish crashed the car at the beginning of the day and came from the back of the grid, had to work his way through the field. He punched his way past Christian Klein and worked his way to victory. It was an incredible win, perhaps one of the most special for Audi and McNish individually, and that's why there was that kind of elation.
Yeah, you could see how pumped up he was.
You know what, though? It's been that kind of race all day, hasn't it? I mean, it's been back and forth, and these lap speeds are just incredible. I said at the beginning of the show that these are the fastest cornering cars we've ever seen at Sebring. They're going to prove it to us today. We've already broken the track record for a single outright lap, but I think all records are in jeopardy. They could do it all.
Well, you saw the passion in Alan earlier when he spoke in an interview, and he's a very intelligent, articulate man, and he's very careful, and he chooses the words that he says. But it was the passion was overflowing before, wasn't it, when he said, this is real racing, let's get it on.
I just figured something out here, guys. I think they need to wait a little bit longer to get enough fuel in the car. You know, he's only done 20 minutes. Well, he should be okay. I mean, you've got to create enough gap in the tank to get the splash in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you've got to run long enough. But right now, they're good. I mean, topping him up, no problem.
Mish running down some good laps on the 44.90 that lap, but he just had traffic, so this one won't be that good. Had to pass a couple of cars.
44.9 plays a 46.4 for Frank Montagny. The gap's grown out by a second. It's now 39.6 seconds.
We saw Montagny go off the road that lap, which really killed his lap time, whatever it might have been. Didn't do him any good there.
Just to keep you in the picture with the other drivers, Lucas Luhr is still third, Pedro Lamy is fourth, and Adrian Fernandez, the sole remaining car in P2. He and Luis Diaz are in fifth overall, best P2. They're going to get maximum points here today. Magnussen leads Ollie Gavin in the Corvette battle in GT1. Salo, Bruni, and Farnbacher top three in GT2. One of the headlines coming into this year's Sebring 12-hour was the drive for five. The drive for 5 overall victories for Tom Christensen. He could become the best ever here, the most successful here, just like he is at Le Mans. His fate is in the hands of his longtime friend and teammate, Alan McNish. Out in front to the tune of now 41.7 seconds. The Scotsman continues to put at least 1 second per lap on Peugeot's Frank Montagny.
And his teammate just pulled over for him. If you saw that pass, Lucas Luhr just actually got offline, slowed up, and let that pass happen, not to hinder the progress. Alan McNish ran a 44.60, guys. I mean, that's really quick. Montagny only a 45.70. Alan is much quicker right now.
And as you said it, Dorsey, during the break, he just reads the traffic so perfectly, doesn't get balked, just really in a great rhythm. As his two teammates just, they sit back, they let the engineers do the calculating, but there's some stress there. They know it's going to be tight.
Yeah, they're going to have to make that pit stop, and they're going to have to hope right now no caution comes out before they decide to make that pit stop. And nothing can go wrong. They're going to have to nail this one.
The drivers were put through a grueling fitness campaign, as always, as they do every year. This year it was in Bavaria in late January, just to make sure that the entire Audi driving squad, DTM drivers included, were their best. Chris?
Well, that was the one car just taking a splash of fuel. Now, since it was essentially at the same place on the racetrack as McNish in front of the Peugeots, I think this gave the Audi boys an opportunity to see where they were going to come out in front of the Peugeots if they come in for that splash. And as Lucas got out, he is still in front of the Peugeots.
Great point there, Chris. It's really just a great test to see, make sure they got their sums right. So when will we see McNish hit pit lane?
Now that they have the data that they need, I would think they'd be coming right away.
And I think that is the 08. That is Montagny in front of Lucas Luer, just as they come down into the hairpin. There he is there. 7 or 8 car lengths ahead of Lucas Luer. In addition to that, 5 overall wins on the line for Tom Christensen. He could keep his unique run going, where he won on debut with the R8, won on debut with the R10, and here we are, the first time out for the R15 in race conditions.
I tell you, Tom is looking really fit this year. He had that massive crash in the DTM a couple of years ago, and it's taken him a long time to really get over the effects of that. He admitted in an article I read in one of the magazines in the off-season he was still getting severe headaches last year, wasn't getting the proper training in, and he looks in great shape this.
Yeah. He's been all smiles all weekend, hasn't he? Every time we've talked to him, he's been very, very up emotionally. Of course, they're loving this car.
Yeah. There you see the Peugeot canvas, like, what do we have to do to win one of these big ones?
Not again.
Every time they have the speed, but it just seems to get away from them. But we've still got over half an hour to go.
And Montagny, we were theorizing, went on soft tires. Maybe he didn't because he's not running good lap times. 45.50 was his last. That's his best one that he's done. But look at this, 47 flat. That's not going to get the job done.
No. The Lowe's Fernandez Lola, the Acura, I should say, on pit road for his final stop. Adrian Fernandez.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, full fuel.
And the entire team will be delighted to grab maximum points here. Great way to start their 2009 American Le Mans Series campaign to be P2 champions.
This is huge. To get maximum points here for these races of 12 hours, there's 10 bonus points. You not only get 20 points for the winning class, you get an additional 10. With both of the Dyson Mazdas not scoring points today by not getting to 70%, that means they get a 30-point jump start on those cars for the championship, and there's only 4 points between first and second as you go to those other rounds. So it's going to take 8 rounds. If one of those Dyson cars won every race for 8 races, they'd only then be in front of Adrian, finished second in all of those.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge give up right there. 30 points on the out race in the first race of the year. Whew. That's catastrophic for the Dyson.
Talking to Tom Anderson, they knew it. They knew this race was critical, pivotal.
Oh boy, this is the sister car now. The 07 Peugeot with a gearbox problem we're hearing is pulling off the course. I think that's down the hairpin. It is. He's gone straight on to the old hairpin.
Well, is this the yellow that Peugeot needs?
Well, I wouldn't think it would. I don't think it will be down there. If he'd had turned onto the racetrack and stayed there, he could have brought the yellow out.
Yeah.
But I think he's in a pretty good safe runoff zone there.
But this is what this 12 hours is all about. This is why Peugeot are here. They're not running in this championship. They're here just as Audi are.
It's in neutral, but like, when I put gears, it's not going anywhere.
That's obvious.
He's got a box full of neutrals, as they used to say. Which means he's probably lost a drive line, input shaft.
Gearbox is broken, Pedro. Sorry, gearbox is broken. You can do nothing.
This is why they come. They come to learn, see what will break, and try and fix it, make it stronger for the 24 hours.
The engine, and that's what we talk about Sebring doing. It will break anything. You could break an anvil with a rubber mallet at this place.
45.5 seconds. McNish continues to stretch the lead. We saw it as high as 59 seconds on his previous stint. And he just continues to build it by a second or more per lap. Less than half an hour to go. Stay with us to the end. We'll be here live, taking you to the checkered flag. We're also going to leave you with another piece of history. It was Sebring last year and that historic Penske victory. This is your race leader for Penske Porsche, Emmanuel Collard.
Even though Penske only has one bullet left in his gun, it's a very quick one.
They've done it. Penske has finally broken the hoodoo here at Sebring with these P2 Porsches. They're victorious, not only in their class, but Penske and the Porsche wins Sebring overall. We have got you covered all the way to the checkered flag. No more commercial breaks. We're going to take it to the end and an update on the Michelin Green X Challenge. And it's Audi Sport Team Yost doing a good job. They're leading their sister car of Audi Sport North America. And then the best of the Peugeots, the 07 car, the one that you just saw retire up until that point, was showing some promising numbers as far as in the prototype class for the Michelin Green X Challenge. Meeting the numbers, and Corvette Racing have got that nailed down, haven't they? Doing an outstanding job once again on the GT side of things, just as they did at Petit Le Mans. Now look at this. This is Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, the head of Audi Sport, and Ralph Jutner, the technical director of Audi Sport. And this is a pretty passionate conversation.
I tell you guys, I do not understand why they have not pitted this race car. If there is a yellow, they are going to get themselves caught out here.
Looks like Dr. Ulrich going for the snake oil.
Remember, if there's a yellow comes out, it closes the pit lane. It means McNish cannot pit. Then the Peugeot is going to be right behind him, and Alan may potentially still need a splash. I mean, if it was a long caution, then it'd save enough fuel to not need the splash.
Absolutely.
And a diesel, of course, Dorsey saves a lot of fuel under caution.
Yep.
But, you know.
But they have a disagreement going. You can see that for sure.
52 seconds. That's enough now to pit.
It's
definitely had it for this whole last stint. They could have pitted at any time, as long as they could top the tank off and get him to the finish. At that point, they were good to do it.
Plus, at the speed that McNish is driving, if he comes out behind, he's going to run down the Peugeot. He just ran another 45.30. Montani 6 and 7s, losing 2-3 seconds a lap.
Well, he's had enough of a gap to make the stop and keep the lead, Doris. So I mean, you wouldn't have to run him down. It was just. We're guessing that it'd need 10 seconds of fuel. Chris said it was about 14 seconds you lose by coming down pit lane versus staying on the racetrack.
You got 22 minutes to go. It's not going to be much. Half a tank.
Montagny is now starting to get closer to the mark as far as respectable lap times and what he was turning a little earlier on. McNish has been in the 44s and low 45s the entire time. Now Montagny's starting to get down to the mid-46s, but he's still too far away. The gap has grown again, 54.2 seconds now. McNish over the Frenchman. Audi over Peugeot.
Again, Audi have had a game plan and they've just stuck to it. They've executed. And something went awry during that final stint. Alan McNish behind the wheel, of course, but he just stretched the gap. And that just got out of the window for Peugeot to really attack, knowing that Audi needs a splash of fuel. I mean, if it had been around the 40-second mark, then it's close. When you pull it to a minute like Alan did, that makes a world of difference.
And all we can say, you know, we saw Montani go off the road, you know, but I don't think it damaged the suspension. I was worried about a puncture, but he's just not running the lap speed he needs to be able to win this race.
Just over 20 minutes remain. And if Audi can go all the way over these next 21 minutes, it will be 9 overall victories from 11 starts here at Sebring.
There's the man right there. Sebastian Bourdais in that car was turning faster lap times than anybody earlier on.
No disrespect to Frank, but perhaps I should have had Sebastian in the car.
No disrespect whatsoever, but we saw that the new lap record set by that man, a 43.20, got the job done, believe me.
I mean, I'm not sure there are driver log issues. You can't do more than 8 hours a single driver, no more than 4 hours out of 6. But I think Bourdais was clear to do that. But I mean, they were pretty confident with all 3 of their drivers in this 08 car that any one of them could be in for this final stint and get the job done. I mean, we certainly saw Frank take the task to Alan in the middle of the afternoon. It was a great battle there around 4 o'clock, I believe it was.
But right now, he's just smashing him. McNish is smashing him. A 1:44.7 against a 1:47. The gap is now almost 57 seconds.
3 seconds a lap. I mean, that is built to cushion. McNish right now is winning the war because he's going to have to come in and get fuel here in a minute, and he's going to come out and lead.
Oh, for sure, Dawes. He's going to have a huge lead. Maybe they just want to clean it for the photographs or something.
Yeah, could be that.
This is serious business. I mean, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, and Audi have been here many, many times before, so I certainly don't feel comfortable second guessing their strategy here, but you know, you got to be careful with these cautions if they arise.
I'm going to do a bit of a class check-in on the other classes, and as we move to those classes, I just want to quickly tell you that we have surpassed the American Le Mans Series distance record in the 12 hours of Sebring. We've done over 370 miles, 1,370 miles to this point, and we're keeping on grinding away for another 19 minutes. Lowe's Fernandez, Tom Anderson, Adrian Fernandez, co-owners of the team, and all of their staff, and Luis Diaz, the driver, the other driver, will be delighted. What a day for these guys. It's run pretty much error-free, and even right from the outset when the 2 Dyson Mazdas were still in the hunt, they didn't really ever get close to the Lowe's Fernandez Acura, did they?
They didn't. They didn't seem to have the pace of this car. I think it will be a good battle throughout the course of this season as the Dyson team really get accustomed to that unique-looking Lola and the Mazda power. But these guys knew this was a critical race. They came prepared. They did a lot of testing. They overcame a big crash that they had in the 12-hour simulation that they did for the Acura team. Michel Jourdain, who was supposed to drive here this weekend, had a massive crash when the car aquaplaned in heavy rain. But they came here and they also were prepared. If they had any problems, they had all the spares ready. They'd really rehearsed well to be ready for anything that was thrown their way.
From P2 to GT1, and Johnny O'Connell, just like, well, the delight that may be heading Tom Christensen's way. Johnny O'Connell is headed for yet another victory. His good friend and teammate Jan Magnussen is driving the car. Johnny O'Connell could be headed for his 8th victory at Sebring, and of course he's had 1 overall. The rest have been class wins, but this is superb stuff. And how about Antonio Garcia, who has come into this team? He won Le Mans last year. He won Daytona 24-hour outright, and he's headed for a Sebring class victory.
Yes, great point. Talk about some of the boys like getting the Indy 500 championship and Sebring win and the 24 at Daytona all on their trophy cabinet at the same time. This guy has a Le Mans trophy as well.
From GT1 to GT2, former F1 pilot Mika Salo behind the wheel of the Ricci Ferrari. And remember, these guys came from last to first. They were right at the back of the pack because Jamie Mello had some immigration, some travel issues coming from his new hometown of Rome, Italy, getting into Florida, and he arrived very late on Friday morning in time to come here, get a little bit of rest, drive the car, and they had to go to the back because Jamie did not do any night practice. They opted to do that, and it has paid off. A very much a smooth run, error-free run, and well done to Pierre Caffer, the new man in this team, who will be Mello's full-time teammate in 2009. All 3 drivers performing beautifully.
And for Caffer, 5 years ago, he won the race overall. He's about to get another class victory tonight, it looks like.
Okay, the gap up front, while we were away checking in with the other classes, it has grown enormously. It's out to 1 minute 2 seconds. 62 seconds the advantage to Alan McNish.
Unless they have an ace up their sleeve in terms of they haven't been using the full fuel load, Alan McNish must be getting thirsty here for some fuel.
And Montani is continuing to slow down. This is at 48.9 that lap. Drops him way out of control. He's 5 seconds a lap now slower. So I don't know if there's something wrong with the Peugeot, if he's got a problem there, but he's continuing to slow. McNish is just going lap after lap at a record pace.
let's not lose sight of the fact that this car is on racing debut. They did not have what they considered a really productive test period in Europe because of bad weather. So this is quite the way to come out.
It really is, and you could sense the confidence within the team throughout this week, Dorsey, just seeing them each day. There was a spring in their step. They knew they had a great car, but they had to execute. It was really a tough battle with Peugeot, with those guys double stinting throughout the course of the 12-hour race. But just in these last 3 or 4 hours, it just seemed to swing the pendulum towards Audi.
Yeah, that was, without question, the most fantastic battle for the lead for the longest period of time I've ever seen here. I mean, it just doesn't normally go all the way through to the last couple of hours amongst so many cars going this quickly.
Well, we said 14 minutes would be about the time when he made that last pit stop. We're now approaching that mark, so let's see how many more laps Alan can squeak out with this TDI engine. V10 this year, still 5.5 litres. 10% more restrictor, should be a little bit more fuel efficient.
Much lighter
package. Pit lane. Slow it down.
At the point of entry, he's got 1:04 advantage over Frank Montagny.
Time stop for sure.
I'm guessing about 10 seconds of fuel. They may play it safe and put a bit more in. Certainly don't want to cut it too close. They have a good margin to work with, I feel.
Chris is there. Go for it, mate.
Well, Alan McNish hits his mark. I think I'm looking at the wall here, guys. I'm looking at about 20 guys who either have stopwatches or are looking at their watches right now, trying to figure out how much fuel they're going to put in this car. I'd say we're past 5 seconds, probably somewhere around 7 seconds, and McNish is out and away. I think he's going to have an easy lead here, guys.
That's Montagny coming through Le Mans curve, heading onto the ALMS straight. So that is a massive advantage, and it is more than comfortable for McNish. So we're into the final 13.5 minutes. And you're watching another piece, yes, yet another piece of American Le Mans Series Sebring and Audi history.
You're watching a driver absolutely at the top of his game, Doss.
No question about it. Alan McNish, there's a reason he's the decade's best road racing driver. I mean, how many times have we seen him do exactly what he just did? When he needs to pull a trigger and get away, he gets it done. He's great in traffic, doesn't make mistakes. He just won this race for Audi. You know, pending something going wrong, that last stick he just put in sealed it.
And I think he loves having Tom on the team. I think that really spurs him because he wants to be top dog. You know what I mean? They work together well, but he's got that little terrier instinct. I want to be the man. Every time he gets in the car, even at his stature, he feels like he needs to prove himself.
Yeah, no question. There's a lot going on there. Now this car comes in. I didn't expect this, and they're looking at the rear end. Looks like maybe looking for a wheel loose. This could be a vibration issue, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Dorsey, they're looking at the front wheels on this car. You know, they were originally looking at the right front, then they were shaking the wheels back and forth. You know, you kind of have to wonder, is there something damaged into there, or did Lucas possibly pick up so much rubber and debris out there that it kind of, you know, throws the corner weights off on these cars, and maybe he picked up a big vibration or something.
Great point, Chris. You suddenly run offline, and suddenly you've got this massive vibration. You think it's more serious than it is, but you'd think you'd have enough experience to have been there before, but it can shock you sometimes, and even the best in the business will get it wrong in terms of making that determination. But better safe than sorry.
On the other hand, he's not going to catch the second place car, and he's way ahead of the fourth place car, so it's better to play safe than sorry and have something go bad out on the racetrack. I mean, Lucas right now is just riding out the laps. He can't catch anybody. Nobody can catch him short of something going really wrong, and that's why he came in to make sure it didn't.
It's interesting, isn't it, where within the Audi family, as we refer to it, we're now seeing a new generation of the Audi family coming through with Rockenfeller and Lucas Luhr being drafted in, and Alexandre Premar last year. They've formed great partnerships, whether it be Pirot and Biela, whether it be Pirot and Werner, whoever it might be, McNish and Capello. They've all achieved great things, Tom and Capello. But the threesome of Capello, Christensen and McNish have only ever won Sebring once as a threesome. And that was 3 years ago in 2006. They're on their way in just over 10 minutes time.
But you can see they have so much experience. They're not celebrating yet, Dorsey.
No.
They realize anything can still happen.
Anything can happen. I mean, how many times have we seen that, even down to the last minute, last lap? This one's never over until it's over.
24-second lead Alan McNish has after that pit stop. Sensational viewing here at night. The fans just love this time of day. You got the brake rotors glowing, the headlights beaming, and the cars just soaring by, Dorsey. It's a special time here at Sebring.
It is a lot of fun to come to this racetrack. If there's a race that you've got to go to, I'd say, you know, road racing in the United States, this is one not to be missed. This is really an event.
Pretty cool this morning. We all got here pretty early. We had an early start and walking along the back of the pit lane. It's kind of a little bit foggy here this morning, and you just see the vendors setting up and the fans starting to roll in. Pretty cool stuff until I saw Lee Diffie eating an egg and bacon sandwich.
It was foggy because you didn't have your contacts in.
That was the second egg and bacon sandwich.
Exactly. Less than 10 minutes to go. What a day it's been. Not the biggest field, but certainly a quality field. New cars and teams with a new project that have got a lot of work to do once they leave Florida. And we have a new distance record, not only a new lap record, that blistering lap set by Sebastian Bourdais earlier, but we've reached a new distance record as well with just under 9 minutes to spare. So that just goes to show the cracking pace.
It's what we said at the beginning of the show, that we're looking at the fastest cars that ever turned around in this racetrack in all the years it's been here. I mean, these are the fastest cornering cars we've ever seen, and we're proving it by breaking every record.
Despite a smaller rear wing and some more restriction.
Exactly. That's right. You know, that's what's amazing about it. They keep taking horsepower away from these cars and reducing straightaway speeds, and the cars keep going faster in the corners.
It's so necessary, though, because technology keeps moving on. Tire technology, the Michelins keep getting better. The aero packages, the CFD, the design of these cars keeps getting better, and essentially you basically overpower the racetracks from a safety standpoint, Dorsey, in terms of the cornering loads. And if you do have a moment flying off the racetrack, there's no way that the circuits can be revamped to accommodate the high speeds.
And that's what we all talk about. We all went out to turn one and we watched those cars and we all looked at each other and said, my God, hope it stays on the track.
Well, these guys are just minutes away from notching up another win. Christensen is on the verge of something special. He and his old friend Frankie Bieler, who is no longer racing for Audi, are tied on 4 overall Sebring 12-hour victories. Tom on the left, Tom Christensen, Mr. Le Mans, is about to become Mr. Sebring as well, with an all-time high of 5. Dindo will move to 4, and McNish will move to 3.
McNish just ran off a 45.20, so
not slowing down, stay in the rhythm.
Still a full 2 seconds faster than Montani.
I think stay in the rhythm. Yeah, because you just lose it all. I mean, you have a rhythm for the racetrack at this point, and you just really just have to keep in that mode.
All smiles at Audi. That is not the case at Peugeot. Bourdais knew that they were close. He knew that they were close, and perhaps it should have been him in the car at the end.
They'll be talking about what went wrong here, because when Bourdais got out and was interviewed, he said, we have a fast car. He said, on these tires we put on this car has come alive. We can catch the Audi. He was super confident. The last lap, when he got out of the car, was the fastest lap of the race at a 43.2. And now we're seeing the car do 46s, 47s, the occasional 44, 45. But, you know.
And he was running a consistent 44.5 for, you know, many, many, many laps before he whipped out that 43.20, which is far and away the fastest lap ever turned around.
The car must have lost its balance, Dorsey, and Frank did have that off on his opening lap. Maybe something got pulled ajar underneath the floor. I mean, these cars are so aero-sensitive. The slightest thing could be causing him to lose some lap time.
And then there was that second one, that slide off at turn 16 as well. GT2 leader is in for the final time. What a day for Risi Competizione and Giuseppe Risi.
3-lap lead. They have nothing to worry about. They just got to go out there now and knock off 5 minutes worth of laps
12 months ago, Jamie Mello crashed this car out of the race in almost embarrassing fashion. Took out the Farnbacher Lowe's Porsche as well. However, it didn't matter. That was all erased by winning Le Mans. Well, now they're on their way to win Sebring again.
This has been a pretty much trouble-free run throughout, and you don't get those here at Calvin at Sebring, where you can just go and get fuel and tires and keep running around like this car has. There's smoke over there. I don't know what that's from, but
let's give a shout out to the sister car doors, to the 61, the Raceway Krone Ferrari, because they're still pedaling around pretty well. Nick Johnson is in 6th in class, 13th overall. The Robertson GT40 is still going out there, 15th overall and 7th in class. And Dirk Werner and the Farnbacher Lowe's team have soldiered on from much adversity earlier in the day to be 8th in class. Joel Feinberg still going. There's the 40, Dave Murray behind the wheel. And 10th in class is Rob Bell. We know that at 007, the Drayson Racing Aston Martin has long since retired.
That's been sitting parked on the course there for quite a long time. This car looks none the worse for the wear. The boys and girls in that car have done a good job. Pretty much he got into some trouble early on. A couple spins. Got collected by David Brabham. Andrea did. It wasn't her fault. She just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Big day for Michelin as well. All the positions stay as is. Michelin will get a clean sweep with Audi, with Lowe's Fernandez, with Corvette, and with Risi. What a day for the French tyre manufacturer. They have quite the record here at Sebring and in endurance racing for that matter. So Michelin will be celebrating as well.
Well, they just seem to get it right, don't they, Dorsey? I mean, they have the speed, they have the
longevity.
They're able to double stint. In most cases, certainly the Audi didn't take that strategy, which is very unusual, but it's worked tonight.
Yeah, that's frustrating when you have a tire manufacturer that's faster than the one you're on, and they can double stint and still be faster, and you can't double stint. That leaves you very little option as to how to beat that combination.
Final 3.5 minutes, and that man there, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, on the right-hand side.
It will be 3 remaining at gap 24.5.
He keeps his emotions in check, but you will see a smile in 3 minutes' time.
Oh. Couple of laps, that is. Here we go.
Be this lap plus one more.
McNish is so darn good. I mean, just watch that car. It's spot on. He's never offline. Doesn't make the mistakes in traffic. He's just brilliant. He doesn't get boxed in.
And there's something special for the driver too, taking the checkered flag. And the effort that McNish has put in today, he deserves this. The flashback for me will be that move that he put on Montagny with traffic, with Patrick Long in there, heading down into the hairpin, and the way he pushed his way through. And that electrified him. He was excited about that. He loves one-on-one, head-to-head racing at the highest level.
His dad is here this weekend. His dad doesn't like to fly. He's been at Le Mans many times, but first time in many years that he's seen Alan race here in the States, so he'll be pumped too.
I don't blame him for not liking to fly.
Been here so many times before. He knows how to withstand the pressure. He's keeping a good rhythm going, still running in the 146 range, so just take it a little bit careful through the traffic, but other than that, just keep doing the same thing.
He's got a very comfortable cushion of 25 seconds over Peugeot's Frank Montagny.
And of course, he's increasing that 25 seconds, about a second a lap at least every lap, so things well in hand for Mr. McNish. One more time around, Calvin.
Final
lap. It should be the last lap. It should be the last lap.
Indeed it is.
Yes, it is. You showed me the picture.
And they've put 31 more laps on top of last year's complete total. That's how fast the pace has been, how interrupt-free it has been. Just 3 full-course cautions today. And that in 12 hours is something special.
It really is. It's phenomenal. Just great driving out there. And we talked about a few less cars this year, Dorsey, but high-quality field, some great drivers out there, great cars, and I think that's the reason why this is at a record pace.
That is why there was only 3 cautions. I mean, the fact that the car count's down is a little bit of it, but it's not really the story. The story is that the class of driver, the class of car that competed this year was stellar. That was probably the most competitive real field I've seen.
Final run home. Savor it, Alan McNish. You have earned it.
A new car. A really tried, done, true car. That's what we talked about at the beginning, Lee, when you asked me which one would win. Well, you know, with 2 brand new cars untested, you would have thought maybe the Peugeot. But these Audi guys are good. They're really good.
They get it right, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Boy, oh boy, this is going to be a fascinating Le Mans that we're going to be looking forward to in June. There's going to be 3 of these cars here, the Audis, 4 Peugeots, 3 run by the factory, 1 by Pescarolo, a couple of the old R10s in privateer hands. It's going to be a battle royale, that's for sure.
The stretch, the final stretch down the ALMS straight into Sunset Bend and turn 17. Audi know how to do it in endurance racing. They've won on debut with the R8, the R10, and now the R15 does it for the very first time. And Tom Christensen is the most successful at Sebring with 5 overall victories. Audi has done it again. For Racing, it's another win. It's their 2nd win in 3 years in GT2. But today, the headline is all about Audi. The head-to-head fight with Peugeot. Acura put up a great qualifying time and a good early run, but it really came down to Peugeot v Audi and the German Mark being superior today.
Fantastic execution. Stuck to their game plan, Dorsey. Didn't falter. No mistakes by the drivers. Perfect pit stops.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, and here comes Adrian Fernandez. Handley taking P2. Great job. They never had a problem all day either.
That's huge for those boys.
Perfect race.
The other 2 Acura teams stepping up to P1. They're the sole Acura team in P2, and they get maximum points on the opening day of the 2009 season. We'll have the wrap-up after this. The successful trio, Christensen, McNish, Capello. Let's hear from the boys.
Well, these guys are up on the car. They're celebrating. All these cameras going off. We got strobes going everywhere. These guys are having a little drink of orange juice down here. Alan, amazing run there that last hour and a half. How much information were you getting from the team about the fuel situation and about where the pug was?
Well, I knew exactly the fuel situation before we started the stints, and the information regarding with the Peugeot and where we needed to be relative to it also I knew prior to it, but they were updating me all the time. Every second lap I had some more extra information, so I knew well, pretty much everything I had to do.
Tom, you're Mr. Le Mans, now you're Mr. Sebring. You stand alone with 5 victories here. Got to be an amazing feeling for that.
It's really unbelievable. Today really belongs to our new baby, such a young baby, such a great team, and really well driven from Dindo and Alan. Alan, in the end, immense pressure. We knew we need to get something. And Peugeot, they gambled, stayed on their tires. This paid in our favor. And really, really unbelievable. It went down the wire. And to win with such a young car, it's absolutely phenomenal. Audi R15 TDI.
Dindo, the team won with the R8 debut, the R10 debut, now the R15. What does that do for the whole organization?
That's really something special. For sure, this year debut was the most difficult one because we had not so many tests in Europe before coming here. And what happened today, from start to finish, without any technical problem, is something really unbelievable.
Is the car ready for Le Mans?
We can still improve it, and that's why I'm looking forward to it.
An amazing victory. These guys pulled out again.
Hey, they drink the milk at Indy, they drink the orange juice here, the 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Fresh from Florida, and that's exactly what the OJ is. Let's leave you with the P1 results. We know the first 2 for sure. Great driving from Mike Rockenfeller, Lucas Luhr, and a wounded Marco Werner to pick up a podium spot there. And then right at the end there, the 07 car just going away. They had their fair share of problems today, didn't they? And then the Acuras, the Patron Highcroft car, and the DeFerrin XM Radio Acura finishing in those final 2 positions in LMP1. For GT2, it was a very closely contested class, but the two Ferraris prevail and the Risi car on top. And how about that? The Panos Esperante getting a podium position. Let's hear from our winners, though.
Solo, starting from the back of the pack. You weren't happy with the car earlier in the week, but you brought it up through the field. How rewarding is it to finish here on the podium at the 12 Hours of Sebring?
No, it's good. It's our second win, and again from the last position. It's really good. So we were working all week for our setup just to be perfect in the race, not in the qualifying. And okay, we got penalized in the qualifying anyway, but still, the car was perfect in the race all the way, and tires, Michelin gave us mega tires. We could double stint the tires if we wanted. They were just consistent, and not a single scratch on the car, and an easy win in the end, so what more can you have?
And this is the car that won at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, then at Petit Le Mans, and here at Sebring. There been any changes from that time?
Of course, there's some updates, but not a lot. It's a good car, so it lasts long, and I think, like you can see, it's a perfect condition, like brand new.
Finishing up the top of the podium, does it make you want to come back for more?
We'll see. At the moment, I'm doing only this one, and maybe later in the year, if I have nothing else to do, then I come back again. Maybe for Le Mans and Petit Le Mans.
Well, after seeing him climb out of the car with a big smile on his face, guys, I think we might see him back again.
Thank you.
That is Ferrari's 18th class victory here at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Great run, and Mika highlighted there from last to first. You can't ask for more than that. You can't ask for more than winning on debut with a new race car. That's exactly what Audi Sport has done. We're not done yet here from Sebring. Stick around.
The world's greatest collector car events return to speed. Barrett-Jackson, Palm Beach. Begins April 9th, 12 p.m. Eastern. Presented by Bridgestone. Only on Speed.
You wanted to see me, sir?
Oh, come on in. I had some other things you could tell people about Geico. Great claim service and a 97% customer satisfaction rate show people really trust us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Trust is key when talking about Geico. You gotta feel it. Why don't you and I practice that with a little exercise where I fall backwards and you catch me?
No, sir. Honestly, I don't think...
No, we can do this.
Oh, dear.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It's a scene of celebration, and so it should be. It has been a very long day's work, a hard day's work for the teams and the drivers. But when you're in victory lane and you can stand on the podium, it just makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it? Great scenes here, and the traditional scene here, the gathering for the podium presentations in GT1. And it's the last time we'll see those beautiful Corvette C6Rs here at the 12 Hours of Sebring. And of course, the three coming out on top of the four. Kelly has more.
And Jan Magnussen had the honor of bringing the C6R across to bring home the checkered flag for the last time in this Corvette 100th ALMS race. The last time we'll see this car here. What does it mean to you to grab this podium?
Oh, it's a fantastic feeling. I'm so happy for the guys in the car, especially to welcome Anthony like this. And you know, I have to thank everybody from Chevrolet and Corvette, Michelin, everybody involved with this. It was just a perfect weekend for us.
And it was Johnny O'Connell who actually made the pass on the 4 car to get this #3 in the lead. And you're breaking all your own records here at Sebring. How do you reflect on your accomplishments here?
You know, when all that stuff was happening, all I could think is, you know, what Doug Feehan and Steve Weslowski, our bosses, were thinking, you know, turning us loose again, you know, O'Connell and Beretta hitting again. It didn't happen, but yeah, that was exciting. And you know what, one of the coolest things about Chevrolet is they want us to show what this car can do. We take so much pride in it. you know, and I also heard we won the Green Challenge, so you know what, we're good to the economy and the environment, and you know, we're so proud to be associated with Chevrolet and Corvette Racing and Michelin tires and everything. It's very cool to come here for me every year, and to get, you know, Antonio now, we have a Spaniard on the team, and man, he's bringing some good mojo, so we're looking forward to Le Mans.
Now 8 wins for Johnny O'Connell, and we'll turn it over to Antonio. You had to feel pretty confident being paired up with this duo here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think they did a fantastic job. This is my first race with Team Chevy and Corvette Racing, and it's just, I just need to thank them because they gave me a really fantastic car. Everything ran perfect from first lap till the last lap, so I couldn't expect anything else.
Well, it'll be an interesting season as these two teams make the transition into GT2, but the number 3 car strikes first.
New guy buys the drinks.
All 3 boys pretty pleased with themselves, and understandably so. And the Michelin Green X Challenge, the final results there for the GT class. And of course, Corvette Racing doing it comprehensively. 1-2 there. Well done to the guys. And Flying Lizard, the finishing car, the 44, the sister car, getting in there in 3rd place. One class left to talk about, and that, of course, is P2. It was a tough day, to say the least, for the Dyson Racing Masters. Their new Lola chassis cars, and it ended prematurely with separate mechanical problems, unrelated mechanical problems. It was the Lowe's Fernandez day. Let's hear more.
Adrian Fernandez, Luis Diaz, it was a spectacular race for you. I mean, there's only 2 of you in the car. Adrian, obviously owner and driver. It must feel fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Luis did a tremendous job, and everybody on the team, and you know, it was just a perfect executed race for the Acura Lowe's team, and you know, we're very happy that at the end finally we got the victory. And you know, it was absolutely, I mean, I don't know if we got the record in terms of laps, but I mean, we have absolutely no problems all day. You know, we wish we had a little bit more power like last year to fight a little bit sometimes with the P1s, but it was a lot of fun.
I mean, Luis, when both of you are in the car, you can't almost tell who's who in the car. You run so strong. A great teammate, obviously.
Yeah, well, not only I think the teammates. I think everybody in the team have worked so much during the winter. You know, I think Lowe's has been a great sponsor. Acura has been behind us all the time, and I think everybody in this team deserved it from a long time ago. And finally, we have our first victory. So I think it's a truly teamwork.
Tom Anderson did do a fantastic job in preparing the car and running through. Obviously, this is the way to start a championship bid.
Absolutely, this is the way to start it, and hopefully we can continue. I want to thank every employee from Lowe's, and thank you for helping us, supporting us, and this is going to be a fantastic year. So thank you, everybody at Lowe's.
Couldn't be said better. Well done.
Great day for those. Special day in the history of that team, especially in their sports car career. We are not done yet from Sebring. They're the winners. Let's hear from the others when we come back. It's right about this stage that those who won't stand on the top step of the podium start dissecting their day, their race, what went wrong, how could we have got there, and being the winners at the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. One of those teams is Peugeot. Chris Neville is there.
Well, Sebastian Bourdais sitting up on the pit wall here. And a minute ago, Dindo Capello was over here. You guys were smiling, talking a little bit. What were you saying?
I was just saying how lucky they are. It lasts too long. Every race, just no problem at all for them. And every time for us, there seems to be something, just a little hiccup at some point. Today was a puncture, but, you know, like, this guy just won them the race in the last couple of hours, so hats off. You know, they've done a fantastic job again, but we won't give up, and we'll give them a run for their money in Le Mans.
When you got out of the car, you turned the fastest lap of the race. Frank Montagny gets behind the wheel, and he wasn't able to do 44s, 45s. He was mainly up in 46 and 47s. Did you want to be back behind the wheel?
No. I mean, I think the car just stops working. At some point, we've got an operating window really small. And when the temperature got below a certain temperature, the tires would just not start anymore. And he had the hardest time in the car. And it happened to me during the afternoon. So I know exactly what it feels like. But this place is very special. And Le Mans will be a bit more of a known place for us. And we shouldn't have that kind of problem. So we'll keep trying, and you know, we'll see what happens in June.
What is it going to take to beat Audi when we get to Le Mans?
Have the perfect race again.
Well, they're going to hopefully have that perfect race because they're bringing more cars this year.
Ian James, Dominic Farnbacher, a tremendous run for you guys in your Panos Esperante. Ian, after your little hit earlier in the race, did you think the car was going to be strong enough to make it across the checkered flag and on the podium?
Well, obviously, anytime you have any contact, you know, you're a little bit worried, but, you know, the next lap I could feel it was okay, you know, so we were confident in the Panos, and being driving here with Dominic this weekend has just been an absolute pleasure.
Dominic, after signing a contract to run with another team for the 2009 season, that not coming together, running with Panos, could you have written a better script to come back to do better in the championship?
Of course, I mean, our goal is, of course, to win as many races as possible, and at least we got third now. I mean, it's a great effort for the team and for Panos, and we're happy, and thanks to Ian, to PTG, and I'm so happy right now.
At the end of the 2008 season, the Panos Esperante finished its season best of third, and guys are already getting off to a great start for the 2009 season.
The boys should be happy. They did a great job and fought off some very strong teams to grab that final podium spot. And they're getting ready to spray the champagne and to get the awards that they thoroughly deserve. We will take our final commercial break and wrap things up from Sebring on the other side of this. Speed's coverage of the American Le Mans Series Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring is brought to you by Acura. Acura Advance. And by Mobil 1, the world's leading synthetic motor oil. Ask for Mobil 1 at your next oil change. Wrapping things up here at Sebring, what is the secret to success behind Audi's campaign, particularly with a new car? Let's see if we can find out.
Well, I don't know if Brad will actually tell me the secret of success, but Brad, certainly you're a part of it. What a fantastic effort by this team.
It was an incredible team effort, and give all the credit to all these guys behind me here, these guys from Audi Sport and Team Yost. They all worked together. We had a long week. We had a lot of late nights. We're learning this new car, and it was just really incredible the way it performed today. We're really proud of it.
You know, Brad, we have to ask you one thing. You know, those guys up there are conspiracy theory guys. Why did you wait so late to bring Alan in for gas? We were going, if there's a yellow, this is all over almost for these guys. What was happening? There was a lot of Germanic talking going on, I saw.
There was a lot of discussion about that, and it really wasn't quite as close as you guys may have thought because of how good this car does under yellow on fuel. And we were aware of the risk of it yellow coming out, but at that point we were making the gap that we needed, and everything was going quite well, and they didn't want to change it. So we were aware of it, and we knew the risks, but we continued the way we did, and I'm glad we did it that way.
It's called calculated risk. Well done, fantastic.
We showed you the GT Green Challenge, the Michelin Green X Challenge results. Here are the results for the prototype classes, both P1 and P2, and of course it was the overall winning car that also did the best in the Green Challenge. So awesome performance there from both Audis, and then the 07 Team Peugeot 908 finished third in the prototype class. Well, one of the surprises, one of the revelations, that shouldn't really be because they performed very well in Europe. Second place in GT2 and Jean-Marie Bruni. Let's hear from him.
And Jimmy, I asked you a couple days ago if you thought maybe your team was a little bit underestimated. You said, no, not really, but still I think you caught people by surprise coming in second here. How was this race for you?
Yeah, it was really good. We lost a lot of time outside of the circuit. We got a penalty, and that penalty cost a lap when the safety car was the first safety car. We didn't have the way by, so the 20-second penalty cost that. So of course we lost time there, and after for sure Rizzi did a very good job to drive, and especially the strategy was very good. The pace for our pace was unbelievable. Now in the night I was running on the 203 and with no question. So but it's okay, it's good experience for the team, and for me of course last year I just drove 1.5 hours after Jamie crash, so it's very good. I'm very happy for Ferrari. 1-2, couldn't ask for better.
We know you spend most of your time over in Europe, but everyone talks about the history here at Sebring, and it's the 100th race for the ALMS. So what did it mean to be a part of it and be so successful this run?
No, it's very good. I'm very happy. I can't wait to come back next year.
Good to have you. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Good run from those cars, particularly the Ferraris. And they just quietly snuck their way in, Brian, didn't they? They did a very good job. They went about their work. What Jimmy Bruni was talking about there was the early penalty to one of the crew members for not having the balaclava on during refueling.
Well, we talked about that. You know, you come and you run a series that you haven't run before. While you get the job done on track, it's the little technicalities that can catch you out. It's exactly what Jimmy alluded to. They had that penalty on pit lane, sets them back. They don't get the wave by on the pace car. Immediately, lap done.
Tough day for those boys. Great day for Raceway in GT2. And just looking at the results, one of the things we were talking about here in the last commercial break, you remember the huge crash towards the end of the race between the 45 Flying Lizard Porsche and the Panos Esperante of Ian James. The 45 rallied to finish fourth, Cal.
That's amazing. You saw the impact that Mark Lieb had with the pit wall there, Dorsey, or on the pit straightaway, should I say. To think that they managed to get the fuel in and then still finish fourth, that's huge points for those guys when they look at the big picture of the championship.
That was a big hit, it really was, and the crew worked awful hard because, of course, we saw we couldn't get the fuel nozzle in. That took them a lot of work to get that straightened out, get the hood straightened out, and anything to get that points that they needed.
Well, we've heard from Brad Kettler on the engineering side of things. Let's hear from the man who heads up Audi Sport, and that is Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich.
And Dr. Ulrich does have a big smile on his face down here at the victory podium tonight. Dr. Ulrich, after all of the stress of getting here for Sebring and then having to take the car straight to Le Mans, how rewarding is it? How good is it going to feel to get on the plane to go home?
I mean, this is a great feeling. It was a very tough race. It was really a thrilling race for the spectators. And it was an immense speed from the beginning to the end. But I think we made a good job coming with a new car that looks good. We didn't know will it be as fast to be able to win here. Now we know this as well. It's a base for preparing for Le Mans, and I'm happy for all my staff that had a lot of work to come here and have a car in time running just 12 hours without any problem. I think it's a big success.
After winning here today, having it be the base for Le Mans, these guys can go into Le Mans with a little bit of extra confidence.
Dorsey, just explain how difficult that is to bring a brand new car to a torturous race like this and prevail.
Well,
win.
It's pretty unprecedented. I mean, it's one thing to have a tried and true car. You know what pieces are weak that break. You beef them up. You make them stronger. This is a racetrack notorious for tearing stuff up. But to have a brand new car out of the box, come here, run at that record-setting pace without any failure, well, it's unbelievable.
The American Le Mans Series is up and away. The 100th race has been won, and a new season is underway. Our friends at ABC Sport will bring you the next 2 rounds from St. Pete in Florida, Long Beach, California, and then Brian and the gang will be back from the next round from Miller Motorsports Park. Coming up next, AMA Prime Time, and that is from Daytona. On behalf of the entire Speed team, it's been our pleasure of bringing you 11 hours of coverage this 100th race, the 57th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring, and we congratulate all of our respective class winners, but most notably Tom Christensen. He is now Mr. Sebring, an all-time high, 5 times the winner. We'll see you next time.